right. And we are live. That's right. I'm here. We're live. We're doing the one. Oh wait, I forgot to do the fucking the actual intro of the podcast. All right, we're gonna walk it back for one real quick. 1 second. I started this like I just started a regular stream, so I'm gonna do what I always do and like spin around. You guys don't see that part. I'm gonna go. Hey, welcome back to the #1 podcast in the world, the Cellarcast, episode 100. Episode 100. I am here. I am joined by my friend, my colleague, Prox.
Yeah, happy. What is this? What is this again? Oh yeah, 100. Yeah. The 100th Cellarcast, the Cellarcast episode.
Yeah, the Cellarcast.
We here. Yeah.
Actually, no. It's just Cellarcast.
Wait, it is Cellarcast. Was it always Cellarcast?
It's always been Cellarcast. But you'll say, I'll say, it's like the United States of America, It's
Yeah, I'm all about United States of America.
It's a lowercase the, right? It's not the right?
Yeah, when you're talking about getting kicked off an airliner, you're talking about the United, or I mean, you could say United, whatever.
Yeah, but it's like that. It's like I'm like America.
Right, America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I want to do a special like live stream thing for this because I figure a 100th episode should be a special occasion. So if no one's able to be here, at the very least. Excuse me. At the very least, I'll be here and Prox.
Yes.
So we do have a question. I should have queued up the comment review theme on OBS, but I didn't. So just imagine that Ghosty X song is playing right here. We have a question. It comes from Lozy. And last time he asks, well, he says, wow, 18 minutes, the shortest podcast. It's because I spent most of it spoiling the entirety of the Before trilogy. Question for number 100, in case I can't be live. How does it feel to be the owner of the best podcast in the world?
Oh.
It feels pretty good. Frequently, people come up to me on the street. They say, hey, you're that Cellarcast guy, right? That's where they know me from. And I'm like, well, I wear a lot of hats. And one of them is is the one that says #1 podcast in the world. But you can call me Tygan and not Cellarcast.
Yeah, I don't know. When I walk into like bars and stuff and I talk about Cellarcast, everyone kind of looks at me with like a raised eyebrow, like, what are you talking about? But then I say, oh shit, sorry, the Cellarcast. They're immediately like, oh, okay, you're talking about the guy with the chalice, right? The Fast and Furious, fast, angry, wants to drive. Yeah. We know what you're talking about. And maybe dude, that's pretty good.
Maybe they're looking at you weird because you have a big red bruise on your head.
Or a big red bruise on my index finger because I did nothing yesterday but play guitar, basically.
Oh yeah, I guess we should. So I was trying to, real quick, I was making a joke about you saying you walked into a bar.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Yeah.
Anyway, your... Prox is
this whole thing's been a fever dream. The whole thing's a dream. That's the whole movie premise.
Prox is very sleep deprived right now. You want to tell them what you were doing yesterday?
I mean, yeah, so I got up yesterday at a really late time, really shit time, like 5 p.m. or something, and then I was like, you know what, whatever, I'm going to dedicate this day to playing guitar, so I ended up playing guitar for probably like the next 15 hours. I got a lot done. I got a lot of stuff, like, I don't know all the chords, and I know a bunch of chords, and I could just look at the screen and all that and all of it. But I don't know the music theory shit, but I know there's a pattern to moving up and down the fret playing a few notes together away from each other in a certain order. I sound like an insane person, but
Oh no, this is all
somebody,
basically true.
yeah, it's I'm sure people would hear me play sometimes and be like, "Wow, you chose those notes so beautifully. You must have spent, no, I spent no time. I just figured it out from being goofy. I learned some what is it? Everybody fucking learns this, the Seven Nation Army shit, because it's like one string. Uh, some typo negative stuff, because some of their songs are surprisingly easy. Uh, Stuff like Iron Man. I can actually play part of Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses, which is, I don't think that's very easy, to be honest. It's like the do 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 instantly claimed video, by the way.
Oh
No,
yeah,
I'm
right.
kidding.
Yeah, that song.
Yeah.
Hi Raptor, thank you for being the 100th subscriber. That's why I was just pogging out for a second. We've been at
Yes.
99 for the longest time. So let me refresh actually my dashboard. Oh, 100 subscribers. This is what it's like to be the #1 podcast in the world.
100th sub.
Yeah, this is what it's like. Oh, and anyone in the chat, let me know if the audio is messed up as usual. Right. So have you played guitar before?
So, I have, but like I haven't really took it seriously. Like I'd play like a couple notes and then a chord, and then I wouldn't retain it, and I'd be like, "Fuck this sucks," and then like I'd stop for like a few months because I want to play all the cool stuff already, but
Yeah.
I mean the reality is you can't do that. You have to like start slow and everything, and I don't even think I did that for very long until I just started being like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna start playing shit in an order or whatever until it sounds kind of cool." But I mean, I can't really like go back and forth between notes really fast or anything. Like, I mean, I can basically slowly find some shit that works and, sounds cool. Also, thank you, Raptor, for joining us, man, because I need to get more people on the Cellarcast stuff. Posted it in my server and everything, but yes.
You know what we talked about earlier, Brox?
Yeah, what? What's up?
I don't know, like I just talked about it.
That he is the 100th subscriber?
No, what you just called this podcast.
The seller?
Yeah, that word you used.
The plus R
No,
Guilty Gear 20.
That other word you used.
That
you referred to this as.
The?
Yeah. Yeah, the.
Oh. I'm just imagining the SpongeBob joke where he spends like 2 hours on the word the. That's like me, but for real.
Yeah. I'd really appreciate it if you didn't call this podcast that.
I worked really hard to, get that out of here and move on from the.
Yeah.
Mention the English language without the.
I have my pronouns in my bio, and I don't think there's not a single the in there. Okay, dude.
Refer to me as the.
That's my pronouns. The, thee, and thy. Thine.
Thine.
Yeah, thine prox.
Thine seller. I love that.
That's cool though. I mentioned to you probably that I used to play music.
What instrument did you play? I forget.
I played the trumpet.
Oh, I played trombone, yeah.
Right, you did have a musical background. I was like, Prox totally told me he's played something musical before, but I couldn't remember if it was guitar. But it was trombone.
Yeah, I don't know why in band. Well, I do know why. Like, I always kind of thought, like, why don't they introduce you to some cool instruments like guitar? But I mean, there are some cool instruments in band. Don't get me wrong. I think trumpet is one of them. I do not think trombone is one of them. Sorry, trombone players. I don't think trombone's cool. Trumpet always sounded way cooler to me. Or like, wind instruments sound infinitely cooler as well. Drums is probably like the best one in band. If I were to pick like top instrument
Oh, okay.
for me, I
Interesting.
can't play drums though. I just respect drums a lot. They're really important.
Yeah, the yeah, I played trumpet for about eight years from like fourth grade through high school, and I knew some nice trombone players. So fuck you, dude.
Oh man, I wish I took it more seriously, honestly, because like literally all I did, because I was way more immature in like middle school. I feel like junior high was when I started taking shit seriously, but I got kicked out of band because
Really?
I just dicked around and wanted to have fun instead of like learning entire songs and shit.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
They
but now I
kicked you
regret it.
out? So it wasn't like a class?
It was a class. It's just I had to change my schedule or something halfway through the year, which is really funny. Because of
Wow.
band.
I don't think
I
I've
forgot what I switched to.
ever heard of that.
If you dig around enough in band, yeah, they'll probably. I mean, at least in the school I went to. It was a shitty
I feel
school.
like
I went
even
to,
in my
yeah.
high school, they would just like fail you or give you a bad grade if you were that bad, but like make you change your. That's must be such a like administrative like headache.
Yeah, I mean, it was middle school, so they cared way less. If it was high school, it would have been like a bigger problem. In my
Yeah.
opinion, that's kind of when school actually becomes like kind of important. Is like beginning of high school. I mean, before that, I'm not saying it's not important or anything, but I don't know. Like at least the schools I went to, they'd just pass you up until high school, and then high school you actually kind of had to start trying. But I mean, I'm not saying like I just barely passed or anything. I was like, well, I don't want to dox myself, but I have awards in certain stuff. Yeah, but like, trust me, I was a good kid. I think maybe.
Just not in band.
Yeah, not band or Spanish. Man, I don't know why. I guess maybe it would. Maybe because I always thought learning guitar was a pain in the ass, and I thought learning a new language was a pain in the ass. But I'm sure as soon as I could say a few things and understand a few things in a certain language, that would like kick it off for me, and I'd be like, okay, I'll learn it maybe kind of fast, like over the course of a few months, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I discovered with Japanese is that well, there's a few more hurdles with Japanese just because you have to learn like at least two alphabets first. Um, but
Right.
once you get a grasp of like basic grammar and sentence structure for in a language, uh, it's really just vocab. It's just learning vocab and stuff. Um, after that, and then once you just know, all you need is just the words to say what you want to say. Which, like, granted, there are like there's a lot of words out there, so it is kind of a tall order. But you can there's like a path, and once I saw, it, I was like, oh, okay. There was a span of like 2 or 3 months with Japanese where I was like, dude, like this language, this makes no sense. This makes absolutely no sense. And then I kind of like the grammar clicked a little bit for me, and I was like, oh, there's an actual path to understand to knowing this language. It's very long, but um, it's totally possible. I get how it can happen. Um,
Right.
and it's just a lot of practice basically and getting used to it. Uh, yeah, I don't know. It's I feel like I should learn a skill like that. Like you just picked up guitar, I guess.
I feel like you have a lot of skills and stuff. And I wouldn't even call it a skill yet. Well, if I were to have to like explain this to somebody again, I probably could, but I'd probably butcher it a lot about frets and like the neck and ways like strumming things. And I mean, there's a lot of parts to it, but I feel like intuitively it all like makes sense. I kind of approach music, like I've said in the past, from a mathematical perspective.
Hmm.
Like I kind of get the patterns in math of like why there's certain like harmonics and stuff that just kind of work. I mean, quite literally, the first time I heard the word harmonic was when I was dealing with like over calculus 2 level math. And everybody else who's heard it was like, "Oh, you know, it's like a thing that kind of resonates goods with the strings and stuff." Uh, which, you know, that's cool, but oh god, it's like such an irritating perspective to even approach music from is math. Like it,
No,
what a
that's I think that's fair. I've
yeah.
always heard there's a lot of math in music, and I'm so math lacking that like I never really grasped it. Music, I've never really known jack squat about music theory. People like assume, I think they assumed I did because I did like jazz band. So they're like, "Ooh, jazz, that's like hard or something, or it's like music theory." But I just kind of played the music and I never really like understood why I never really understood the why or like the deeper systems, and no one ever really sat down to like explain it to me very well. Um, so I know some like random vocabulary and stuff. Like I've played a Mixolydian scale, but I can't tell you like what the fuck that is. So I don't know. I kind of wish. I feel like your mindset might be better for like a long-term understanding or something like that.
Yeah, it's one of those things like I'm just about everything. God, like even cars or something. It's like that one deal I talk about with like some. I bet you, guaranteed, some of the best artists, mechanics. It doesn't even matter. I feel like most of them cannot give you all like the whole litany of all the correct terms and shit for their craft, but they are some of like the best in their field. Um, I mean, there's probably some business entrepreneurs too, like who are just very charismatic and they know some of the basics with whatever, you know, finance and shit. But like I guess that's more complicated. But when it comes to like playing an instrument or mastering a craft, yeah, I feel like you don't have to exactly know what everything is called. You just have to understand a system and play around the system. And then at that point, once you do enough of that, you can like start breaking the system, which makes you sound very unique and all that, in my opinion. That's one thing that I don't really get. Like I feel like there's some people who get into art drawing, right? And then they immediately want to say like I have a style with anatomy and stuff, and it's like, okay, that's cool, but like also do you have like a basic good understanding of like human anatomy if you're drawing like human characters? Because I feel like you should before you start like bending the rules. Like,
Yeah.
you know, learn the rules and then you start breaking the rules, and that's when it kind of starts becoming fun
Yeah.
instead of just skipping to the whole breaking the rules part. Because how do you even break the rules if you don't even know what the rules are? You just walk into
Oh
the
yeah.
school like, ha, I'm being a douchebag. And it's like, hey, did you know that being a douchebag is actually not against the rules? Oh, shit. Damn it. I can't. That's not fun. Uh, which is kind of stupid, but I'm sitting here like casually playing guitar now. It feels pretty good. I can like just play a few. That's another thing. I feel like people who want to start guitar and feel like, oh, I can't learn all the chords. I feel like that's like the worst way to start.
Oh no,
You should
yeah.
probably
Don't.
just
Yeah.
find a song that you like or a couple of songs, learn how to play that, and then through those, you'll start learning why they sound so catchy with like power chords and regular chords and the certain strings they use and shit. Like, I feel like the big E string, which is like the thickest one at the top, is like my favorite string because it's like the lowest, and I like the low notes, whether it's singers or piano or yeah. I man, I've never played piano. I play synthesizer and I can like screw with synthesis and all that, but I can see like the striking similarities between piano and guitar. Guitar is just so analog, like every little stupid vibration you have with your fingers like comes in through the pickups and uh well, that's not the right term, but you can hear it basically. But the piano, you press a key and it's fine. But I know there's like velocity and attack and all that shit as well. But because I don't know. I feel like this might be really stupid because I know Piano is really deep and complex and can be quite analog itself, but I kind of guitar and piano kind of feel like comparing like Melty Blood and Mortal Kombat sometimes.
Oh, okay.
It's like Melty Blood is like guitar. It's like, look how loose it is, man. You could just like tap on the fret, and you like, if you have an electric, it just comes through. You like hammer on stuff, you vibrate the string and stuff, and it comes through and all that. But with piano,
It's like input output.
I guess that I hate to say that because I know there's like wicked cool shit you can do with piano.
Yeah.
You could literally play a piano like a guitar. Like you could literally tap on, like, it's like just a string instrument. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel the same way. I think the way you described the guitar, I never really thought about it, but the trumpet's actually really similar. Except instead of like I guess, with your hands and stuff, it's well, there is some like hand stuff with like how far you want to press down keys, and like there's a lot of really funky stuff you can do on the trumpet to make it sound, or to like alter a sound before you even get into like the way that you are like literally breathing into it, or the way that you're buzzing.
Yeah.
Because it's very like you can tell an immediate difference between two different trumpet players just by the way that like just by the way they play like one note. It can sound totally different because of like breath control and like temperature, and the way that they like change like how much breath they're putting in. It's a cool trumpet's a really cool instrument. I think I never really thought about, you called it analog, and I think that's actually a really funny way to put it, because I think it's actually really accurate. But I've never heard anyone describe it like that.
Yeah, so a really classic electrical engineering technician thing is there's an entire long ass thing about digital versus analog, and it doesn't sound very important at first, but then you start realizing like, wow, holy shit, like you can basically think just about every system electronically or physically in the air, in the analog air, like radio, for example, that's an analog system. Well, it depends on what part you're talking about, but when you're retrieving the sound in your car, you have to do that through the air, which is always analog. Like, good luck sending a digital signal over the air. That's not happening. The air is, yeah. And we're an analog system. Like the human body is totally analog. Like the way the voice. I swear I played so much fucking guitar yesterday. When I started hearing Mark talk or other friends talk, I started hearing a guitar in their voice. Like I started hearing. I might be insane or something. People say I have ESP as a meme, but like it's you can, oh man, with enough analog voices and harmonics and a synthesizer, you can literally replicate a human voice.
Yeah,
like it is. You can replicate any sound, and I don't mean to ignore Raptor. I really want to get back into playing piano, but then when I have the opportunity, I don't take it. You should, man. I feel like perfecting an instrument, I wish this was kind of like my job, is like just being good at guitar. I feel like that'd be really fun, but record labels and stuff are like the terrible part, and how they're all consolidated by like 3 media companies, but that's a whole nother conversation. That's not fun.
Yeah, no, I'd recommend it next time you have some time where you're like, well, it's easier if you own a piano.
Yeah, guitar is easier to casually play, I think. Well, I can't really say that because you can get like a keyboard and then have like a very clean piano VST. Oh yeah, that's another thing too. Like, talk about digital. Like, you can literally have synthesizers and kits programmed on your keys, and it quite literally is digital. Like, you're hitting a key and then you can adjust the resonance, you can adjust the attack, the decay, sustain. Yeah, and that literally is digital. But I'm not saying digital's bad or anything. Like, of course it's good. Like, digital controllers like the Xbox controller, like the Xbox One versus the GameCube, infinitely better. Fucking GameCube's analog shit. Like I've talked about this before, but no GameCube controller is the same because it has shit like potentiometers in it, which are analog components, and no factory can replicate exactly how each GameCube controller is made because of all that analog shit.
Yeah. So it's
Which results in yeah. It results in this stupid thing where melee players are looking for those 1%er controllers that have less what the hell is it called? It's like you press left on an analog stick, you let go, but then the stick
like snapback, I think.
like snapback. Yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah, they want no snapback.
Mm-hmm.
Which can be fixed and stuff, I think. Like you can just open it up and have somebody pay somebody to
So that's why they recently, in the last few years in the Melee community, they introduced this mod called Universal Controller Fix. It's called like UCF, I think, which just basically it's a mod that basically filters all like controller inputs into basically as if it's like if there's one standard GameCube controller.
Thank God.
So it's
Jesus.
all equalized. And I think that's like if you play on like Slippy, if you play on like online on Dolphin, I think that just comes with Slippy. It just by default, and I think most tournaments run with UCF. Because otherwise you have to go like people get these crazy ass like modded controllers. I don't know if you've seen those for Melee, where they have like they get a bunch of like weird or not weird but like very very specialized modifications for like the like notches at like perfect
Fox.
yeah
Firefox angles.
yeah Firefox angles and stuff like that. Um or like just what's the click like I've seen like actuation points or like tactile actuation points on like the shoulder buttons or something like that. So you get these extreme things that cost like because there's only so many people in the world who can like do that. It costs all this money.
Yeah, and I feel like some of the best ones I've seen are like tactile Z button because the Z button on the GameCube controller is mushy as hell. There's like no feedback. It's awful. But then they add like kind of like a snap to it where it feels like there's feedback. I feel like that's one of the best mods you can get in my opinion because otherwise it feels like the mushiest button ever. It's really bad. Does not feel good. Along with I feel like another great one is like I think there's like anti-snapback like capacitors that are installed on some controllers.
Something like that.
Which that's really weird to me. Like I'm like electrical engineer guy. I'm actually wondering why it's kind of hitting me now like why a capacitor would basically make snapback non-existent anymore or like reduced on I'd have to like look it up or something.
You said something.
Do you know what a potentiometer is?
Is that just like a thing that measures acceleration or something? That's an accelerometer. It measures something. Is it like potential energy?
From what I understand, if I remember correctly, a potentiometer is a device that can change the amount of resistance in a certain place in a circuit, and the resistance is really important. It's measured in ohms. Might have seen it before, but
I think I probably saw that in my chemistry class or something, or physics class.
Yeah, and that's a decent way of like giving a lot of different like analog values and stuff. It's like, wow, you can I'd have to look it up again. It's been a while since I've had like analog hardware class stuff, but believe me, potentiometers have a lot of potential. I tried playing something on the guitar, it didn't come through, but whatever. It's like it's a meme. Potential. My hand hurts. Yeah. I need to stop.
You said something earlier that I thought I don't know, funny, but like you said that like there's a lot of people in who are like great artists or whatever, and they just kind of are like naturally good at stuff at the thing that they do.
Well, I didn't mean to say it like that. I meant to say it as in because I'm actually the opposite. I don't feel like a whole lot of talent. Well, there is some talent that's natural. I'm not gonna lie. Like Michael Jackson is just naturally talented, like on stage and everything. I'm not arguing that at all. But at the same time, I feel like some of this stuff, maybe it is kind of somewhat like of a natural talent, or maybe some kind of, because some people pick up stuff faster than other people, and I don't know if it's some natural gene pool type whatever bullshit, or if it's just I mean, I know what you mean. I didn't really mean to put it that way, but
I wasn't like calling you out on that or at all.
no, yeah.
It was just to bring it back up because um the people I think the people who struggle the most with like a skill or something or some kind of topic or subject, that those are actually usually the people who are the best at teaching. That was like a thing that I kind of noticed in school. So like I had this physics professor teacher in high school, and he was clearly like this was his game, and he was always into physics and math, and this was like his thing, and he knew the material very well, and he was a really nice guy, and this is not at all like a knock against him. But like well, for one, I shouldn't have been in honors physics. That was kind of a mistake. um it really was not, I was not expecting there to be that much math. And so a lot of like the lessons, like we didn't have a textbook in that class. It was literally just him at the board drawing out things for us and like explaining things. And he went so fast. And he would just go from like, so you have this, and then that means because you have this, that means that you can do that, because physics is what was funky with it for me was it's all this like mathematical equations that are like just this imaginary shit. And then you get into like the practical application of like, oh no, actually, like, there's like relationships. Physics is like all this math is actually representing real world things, not vice versa. Which is what a lot of other math felt like to me, like algebra. Physics is representing the real world. Uh, uh, but we were learning the math first usually. So he would kind of like make this he would make this connection, and I was like, "Wait, what? How does it, how does like the from like the force to the acceleration?" And I was just like so lost. I was so lost. And if I like I would have to like go back and like ask him very specific questions very slowly like after class to like get a
Yeah.
grasp of it. But that was something that was like, this isn't like really his fault, but like I think he was just too good at physics. I think he was just too good at math, and he understood it too well, and he just kind of like assumed that everyone else, to them, they're like to him it was like, oh, this is just obvious. These are just like obvious natural connections you make between these concepts. Um, but for me, it was like, whoa, where do we how do we get here? Um, on the flip side, I had some like math teachers who would just tell me like straight up that like, oh no, I was really bad at math when I was in school. Um, and I had to work really hard to actually understand it and learn it to the point where I'm actually like pretty good at it. Um, and that quality, and they wouldn't say this, but eventually I kind of made the connection because I had a lot of really good math teachers. I had a lot of really good, helpful math teachers who, like, when I asked a question, like they knew exactly where I was coming from. And they could actually explain it to me and break it down in a way that I could understand it. And I think that it came from their own experience. So, like, maybe their specific problems with some of the concepts were different, but uh, the mindset of being like a beginner and not knowing something was something that they had also been through. They could like, yeah, they could just understand that. So I think those people end up becoming like really good teachers because they have to actually put in the work to understand it themselves rather than just like, oh, it's just natural to me. Like if I think I would be a bad English teacher. I think I might have mentioned this to you before, but like, I think I would be a bad English teacher because like um I was just always good at like writing essays and like connecting ideas and things like that in like an essay kind of writing sense or like a conceptual sense, talking about like stories and themes and stuff like that and grammar, and like I never really had to think about it. It just came like very easily and very naturally to me. To the point where it was kind of weird when, for instance, I would talk to like some of the math guys at my school, um, or guys who that was like their strong suit, and for them it was like legitimately hard to wrap their brain around like how a difference in a word choice could like completely, like just using a slight synonym for something can completely change the meaning of a sentence. And for me it was like obvious. It's obvious to just like feel out these little differences and these little like distinctions. For them it was like, what? And I'm like, I don't know if I could teach someone this. I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah, I
And
get. Yeah.
you go on.
Uh, I feel like I can never really get complacent with a skill or anything because my memory is very short term. I can remember long term things great, but short term, it's all. It kind of depends on what's going on. But uh, when I'm like in the moment, like doing something like guitar and shit, I'm kind of in the moment, just kind of like figuring it out and everything, and I like end up kind of forgetting a lot of the little details, and I have to kind of go back through it. So maybe I would be a decent, like maybe that does make sense. Like the people who have to like constantly do research and constantly remind themselves of their like skills and everything. They would be better teachers because they're learning along with the student while they are covering material. And honestly, I know it seems like, oh yeah, Prox math lord, all that, but I mean, I struggled in college math. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like calculus one is, I look back on it and I should have done pretty well, but I did pretty bad on it. But calculus two, anything past calculus two, it was like Jesus Christ. It's all just a conceptual nonsense meme at this point. I can kind of like grasp some concepts and that's it. I can't like actually do the math anymore. Like I have to like, yeah, I definitely persevered in college. I'll tell you that. I don't know how I passed math classes after calculus 2. It gets really, really stupid past that point. I mean, calculus for a lot of people, they look at it and go like, "What are you talking about? What do you mean when you say that a number wants to be something?"
Oh, I
What
hate
I've
that
never
shit.
heard of that.
I
Like
hate
what
that shit.
it becomes or what do you mean that these graphs are no longer continuous throughout the entire range of integers? What do you mean there's holes in the graph? What are you talking about?
That,
But
yeah.
that's all limits are. That's all a limit is. It's like imagine there's a whole every number is valid. Every number's fine except one or two numbers or three numbers or something, or maybe everything past this number you just can't, it's not possible, you can't do that,
Yeah,
and for various reasons.
I need I need like when we started getting into like imaginary numbers
Oh
in like
gosh.
algebra
Yeah.
2 or something like that, I was like, dude, like what are we talking about? What are we like, I could understand math talking about like square. I'm like, okay, this is just when you need to count shit in really big quantities. For like a while, that's just what math is. It's like, okay, how much stuff do you need to count? And how much of that like amount do you need to see? Oh, you need to see like a square root of that. Okay, I can see why this exists. You do the graphs. I'm like, okay, I can see. You know, I've seen examples where like all I could see the application of this. I'm like, imaginary numbers. Like, aren't they all? Like, what is this?
I don't
Um,
remember the application of imaginary numbers, but I
yeah.
know that was a big part of for some reason when I was in circuit theory, which is like pretty much basic hardware circuit class 101. There was a lot of math. Like it was like, okay, we're learning about all these circuit things, but by the way, you can tie this back to some stupid fucking math with three-phase generators and whatever the fuck else we were talking about at the time. But
I'm looking up imaginary numbers. So
if you talk
imagine,
to an electrician,
yeah,
sorry,
okay.
they won't tell you jack shit about imaginary numbers. They'll be like, "Are you fucking stupid? Like what?"
Imaginary numbers are the numbers, it's written really strangely, the numbers when squared, it gives the negative result. In other words, imaginary numbers are defined as the square root of the negative numbers where it does not have a definite value. So it's the square root of a negative number.
Which you can't do in regular math, I don't think. Like that's not. I don't think you can do that.
Yeah, I vaguely. Why can't you square a negative number?
I'm really trying to think of like the voodoo bullshit I learned in calculus as to why you can't divide by zero. Like, do you know why?
Uh, it kind of makes sense to me. It's like you explain it.
Okay, so not being able to divide by zero kind of makes sense to me. Well, conceptually to me, dividing by zero is equal to infinity to me,
Yeah, well, it's
but
like how
that's
many
not a
times
correct
does
answer.
zero go into this or something, which is like
Yeah,
it doesn't
so
really apply,
yeah.
basically.
For some reason people want to say like I forget what they say sometimes. They're like, "Oh yeah, so like 4,000 divided by, or let's just put a simpler number, 1,000 divided by 0. Wouldn't that just be like 0 or something?" And it's like, "No, imagine how many times an infinitely small number goes into a big number like that. Like even the number 1, like how many times you could put 0.0030 zeros and then 1. The amount of
Yeah,
times you can put it in that is insane. Like you can put like 30 trillion, I don't know what the number is, but so basically in calculus there's a thing that's like when you have a trend of all numbers, like for example it's like a thousand divided by and then insert a number below it, you can basically make a graph for all of the answers, like 1,000 divided by 1,000, 1, but then 1,000 divided by, and then go down, 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 down. It becomes like a larger number.
yeah,
But then you increase the number on the bottom, it becomes a smaller number. So you can basically create a trend there that's like, um, what would that look like on a graph? It'd be like a fucking hyperbola or something, or maybe it would just be a straight line. No, it'd be like some kind of exponential weird meme or something. Uh, I don't know. I'm. It's been so goddamn long, but uh, yeah, sorry guys. I don't mean to talk about calculus on the stream, but I don't know. I feel like it's like a boogeyman for some people, but I feel like conceptually it would make sense to a lot of people, but they just don't know. The limits is a part of that, but I feel like it gets really stupid really quickly with derivatives and integrals, and it's like, why? Jesus Christ, why? But it makes sense to me why it kind of trends in that direction. And I wouldn't mind learning it again, as painful as it was in college. I kind of realized the other day when I was trying to look for a concept in a certain communications circuits class that I was trying to figure out what I was trying to talk about. Like I have a picture in my head of like a way that you create more digital bandwidth in a fiber wire. And I didn't know what the hell the concept was called, so I was looking it up. And I realized that there's a Google result that's literally just an entire college class PowerPoint in a PDF, and I was just sitting there like, dude, you could probably just walk into a college class, get the syllabus, go home, never go to the class again, and just look up everything on that syllabus online, and you could pretty much learn everything in a college class faster and better, probably on your own.
you want
Like,
to?
unironically.
Hey, so speaking of stuff like math and physics,
Yeah.
um, I want to talk
Anime.
about Fast X. So I'm sorry, but
Uh,
it's been like almost 50 minutes, and I'm kind of chomping at the bit.
yeah, I know that Guilty Gear game is yeah, I've heard
uh,
Guilty Gear Fast 10.
yeah, Fast 10. Yeah, Vin Diesel's the new Guilty Gear character.
Yeah, he's like A tier.
So okay, so I think I think back when Kat and I did our big marathon of the Fast and Furious movies, the Fast Saga, as it's called. Actually, no, that's what the ninth film is subtitled. It's called Fast Nine: The Fast Saga for no fucking reason. Um, uh, I think I vaguely told you about my thoughts on all of them at the very least.
Do they trend like do they get worse as it goes on, you think, or better?
No, it's weird. You can basically split the series into three trilogies. So the first three are kind of like the grounded ones. They're the ones that are more about, some people are like when it was about street racing kind of thing. And of those, I think all of them are actually pretty good. At least pretty good. I really like the first two movies. I think Tokyo Drift is actually pretty decent. Which I think is the only one you've seen, right?
Yeah. It
Yeah.
is.
And then there's the second trilogy, which is where they start. It's like a weird transition point where the fourth film, which is just called Fast and Furious, that one's kind of whatever. Fast Five is great. That's like my one of my favorites in the whole series. Six is also pretty good. Not that's Kat's personal favorite. Um, like pretty solid trilogy all around. And then the third trilogy, seven, eight, and nine, is when they stop pretending that these are real movies. And uh and of those, the only one that's at all decent is seven. Seven's actually pretty all right. That was the last one with Paul Walker in it.
Right.
Um, he died, I think, during filming actually. Uh, so eight, like the worst one. Eight is like the worst one in my opinion. Fate of the Furious. Fate. And then Fast Nine is just kind of bad. It just sort of, I don't like it. So going into Fast X, all I wanted out of it is like, as someone who legitimately likes these movies, all I wanted out of this one is that it was better. I just wanted it to be better than like 8 and 9. I just wanted it to be better than those ones. If we got like a half decent Fast and Furious movie, I would have been at least content. And we watched the whole thing, and Prox, I turned to
Yes.
Kat. I turned to her as the credits were rolling, and I said, "Babe, that was the best one since Fast Five."
Nice. I thought you were gonna say something funny like this is the worst movie I've ever seen in my entire life.
No, well, yeah, but it's also the best one since Fast Five. Both statements can be true.
Jeez.
I unironically had a great time with Fast X. Um, and it's interesting because it it definitely feels okay. I have to double check actually real quick. Fast 9, who the writer was. Um okay. Right, okay. So it was a very similar writing team for this for the last couple films, including this one. Oh hey lowercase visor, thank you. Congrats on the one on 1 million. Yeah, we did it, 1 million.
1 million troops.
uh okay, so I don't know what changed between this movie and the last one because it's almost the same writing team. But like same like two or three people worked on it basically. But it is like significantly better and has way more of the stuff that I like from the series. So there's this interesting. So the reason that like it really starts to go downhill after it's like a slow drop after 5. It's like a slow, very slow decay, in my opinion. When you and then you jump from like 7 to 8, and it's like, wow, this sucks ass. And the reason for that is because this might sound weird, Prox, but the the thing that really made the Fast and Furious films was the characters. And
Okay, I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
most people would not. They would be like, think like, oh no, it's like the action or whatever. But no, what for me, the core, like the heart of the series is the character. And I know this is really funny because if anyone's listened to the last two podcasts, I just spent those talking about like the Before trilogy, which are like some of like the most well written, like deepest complex character studies I've ever seen. Um and then I'm also now 1 episode later I'm talking about how I love Dominic Toretto. His bald head. I love all the bald men in this series. But it's the characters are not like they're not deep, they're not complex. They have very simple motivations. They have very simple backstories. Um, Everyone's just super straightforward, but they're fun. They're likable, and they're crazy pieces of shit, and I like seeing them do equally crazy shit. Um, and there's this strange kind of like it's not really a flanderization, but after Fast 5 there's this weird trend with the films where all the characters kind of end up like just fitting into these little slots, whereas
Like
before,
Flanderized or
yeah,
whatever.
they get like standardized into
Flanders.
oh, Flanders. Sorry, no, I thought you said
Yeah,
standardized.
Flanderized.
Not sort of. It's sort of mix of that, and we're like, we need to find a role for each one of these characters on the cast. Like, Tyrese Gibbons' character or Gibson, sorry, not Gibbons. I think a gibbon is a monkey. Tyrese Gibson's character, Roman, he was introduced in Too Fast, Too Furious, and he comes back in Fast Five a few films later, and his character was always like, oh, he's kind of a hothead, he has fun but he's got a serious side. He's like a fun character, and it's like a charismatic performance. And then after Fast 5 he just starts turning into like a comic relief character. He just starts turning into like the one that everyone dunks on and makes fun of, and it's like, oh, it just kind of like the character just gets like streamlined in this weird way, and like almost every character goes through that. It's really weird.
So
And
you're saying it's like an anime?
yeah, kind of. It's like when the author doesn't know what to do, so they're like, what's this guy's deal? I have
Who's
to give
this
you a
character
role.
now?
Yeah. And they were never that deep, right? But they were at least like kind of multifaceted. And if you watch the first few movies, they have like real personalities that are kind of fleshed out. Um,
Yeah.
uh, and there's like one character in particular who I think is symbolically important in this series, and it's the character Han. You watched Tokyo Drift, right? Like a many years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Han is he's the mentor character. He's the guy who teaches the main guy how to drift. I don't know if you remember him too well.
I actually don't, which is weird. Like I it hasn't been like that long, like 5 or 6 years. Anyway, I should remember who he is, but I don't.
Yeah. So well, that's what he is in Tokyo Drift. And I don't know if you this is I guess this is spoilers, but Han dies at the end of that movie. The problem is that he was super popular. He was really he was really popular with audiences. Um so when they went kind of like soft rebooted the series with the fourth film, they brought Han back and basically said Tokyo Drift takes place way later in the timeline. So they can
Right.
have him come back for 4 and 5, and he is easily my favorite character. Um, uh, so 6 is the last one that he was in. Well, okay, it's a little complicated. 6 Six was the six takes place right before Tokyo Drift, or like a few years before Tokyo Drift, basically. So he dies in between six and seven. Wait, lowercase. What do you mean? The main guy learns how to drift in the fourth film? What do you mean? Oh no, did you just watch Fast and Furious? Oops, oops. You should have watched them all in order. Sorry about that. Um, so he dies in between films, right? And he's
Yeah.
absent for seven, eight, and nine until. Well, sorry, I should say until nine. Where he's just actually he was alive, and you're like, what? He exploded. Like he fucking his car flipped over, and there was like a fuel leak and a fire, and he fucking exploded in the middle of Tokyo, and everyone saw it. And then in nine, they're like, actually, he was a hologram.
What?
And it makes no fucking sense. Um, but Han's back, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck it, Han's back, and his presence is extremely important because something I realized in Fast X is now he's just a regular in the film now, where he comes in like in the last third of Fast Nine, right? Now he's just a regular. He's throughout the whole movie. Fast and Furious is ruthless. Actually, yeah, they're crazy. Um, Han is extremely important to the series symbolically because what I realized is Han as a character, he's not the best driver. He's not the best fighter. He isn't like a hacker man. He doesn't have all these like crazy underworld connections. Han is just the coolest dude ever. He's just like the coolest, chillest guy in the series, and I love watching him. And he's always like snacking on something. That's his thing. He's always got a little bag of chips or something. And he doesn't fit neatly into one of these little roles that they've carved out for all the characters. He's just kind of like there, and he's a cool dude. Uh, I guess that's like his character. So he's a cool dude, but it's so like loose, and having him there, it feels like symbolically, it's like, oh, everyone is a little, they get a little more. I don't know. He changes the dynamic a lot. There's like some decent the characters feel a little less, yeah, like flanderized than before. So like the Roman character, he's still like the dude everyone makes fun of, but like he gets some moments. He has a bit where like, oh, they lose all their money, but he spends, I guess, all the time he just has like $10,000 in $100 bills just literally strapped to his body on a bulletproof vest for some fucking reason. So like
That was cool.
there's this whole there's this whole bit where they're like, we have to like, he's the only one with money. um yeah, visor. That's funny right now. And it's like, oh, okay, here's another big thing. The machismo was back in the film. The machismo. He and Ludacris's character get into a fist fight for like absolutely no reason, just no reason at all. And I'm like, yes, dude, yes, we're back. We're back to the we're not back, but we're close. We're closer to the days when Paul Walker would drive backwards on a highway to impress some guys that he doesn't even like. You know, we're back to the days where he just stares at a girl and like speeds like 30 miles over the speed limit to impress her. Like this is what I wanted. There's a scene where they go to Rio, and I said in our 3 hour Fast and Furious discussion that the three core tenets of the Fast and Furious series is it's boom, vroom, and vavavoom. And this movie had all three. It had all three. We're in Rio, and there's a scene with there's just like, it's like the night street racing area, like this the whole they're at this. Vin Diesel goes to like the scene, like the spot, and there's like six ass shots in a row. And I looked over at Kat. I said, "Dude, we are so back. We're
Oh,
back,
ass
baby."
shots? That's actually crazy. I thought that was just like unheard of anymore.
In the last few movies, it was. it was a shame, you know. There was a couple that brought their like 6 or 7 year old kid to this. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
The theater experience was interesting. There weren't that many people in the theater. There was them. They were the two interesting things was the kid behind us, and then also behind us there was a guy who fell asleep 30 minutes into the film after like the first talking scene.
Oh
Like he
yeah,
could
I've heard
not
people snore in the theater before. It's
he
so
he
fucking
he could
weird.
not be bothered. He fell asleep because I'm like I hear this and I look back I'm like dude, there's like one dialogue scene. What is your And then he got up, like stumbled out of the theater to go to the bathroom, came back and fell asleep again. Like
Yeah, he needed a break, bro. He just wanted to take his kid to the movie and just like
no, he
fucking.
was by himself.
Oh.
It was I'm like, why are you even here?
Yeah, that's pretty weird. I can't fall asleep during a movie, especially the last one I saw, Evil Dead Rises, because that was the loudest fucking movie I've ever heard.
Oh yeah.
Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah. Other things that I liked about Fast X. The action was pretty solid. There was so every movie they've kind of been in this loop of having to like one up themselves. Um the only Fast and Furious I've seen is the end credits for this movie, and my god, I'm keeping it that way forever. You mean like the end credits scene? The epic reveal, which we stayed for? I'll get to that in a bit. They haven't, so they've been in this thing where they've been trying to one up themselves every single movie. And also, hi, Salty. Every single movie.
Yo.
And where it's like, oh, we're gonna drive cars out of a plane. We're gonna drive cars in the Arctic, and on a nuclear submarine, and then we're gonna go to space in a car. And it's like, what else are we gonna do? And there's no one-upping in this film. It's just that like every scene is just like the craziest thing ever. That's kind of just what it becomes. Where like, uh, there's like a there's Vin Diesel. The first action scene that happens is it ends with Vin Diesel playing golf with a construction crane and an atom bomb. And then
What?
there's a nuke, a big spherical nuke rolling down the hills of Rome. And and everyone's trying to stop the nuke, and it's getting to like a bridge. It's over some water because the bad guy Jason Momoa, we're gonna talk about him in a second. He's trying to nuke the Vatican. And and it's like going over this bridge, and Vin Diesel can't stop it in time, but there's the bridge is over water, and they're like, if we can get it in the water, it can dispel some of the blast power. And Vin Diesel's like, I can't stop the bomb. I can't stop the bomb. And then he's like, wait, because there's construction going on the bridge, and there's a big crane with like a concrete block on it that it's holding.
Yeah.
And he fucking goes off a ramp and smashes his car into the side of the crane, and it spins around and hits the bomb. And knocks it into
God.
the water, and it explodes, and like I think they say nobody died. And,
I don't know if that's how the classic nukes work, but go on.
and I'm like, this is okay, that was fun. All right, okay, let's go. He's playing, it was literally like a boom, like he's playing golf with it. um
This is a
okay,
video game to him, bro.
it feels like a video game. And there's actually a scene where a character does this quick run through of like the Fast family's exploits. And there's a line where he says like, it doesn't matter if it defied the laws of physics, they did it. If they had a car, they
Yeah.
did it.
God, that'd be like the lamest reveal ever. They're all in a video game,
Oh,
by the
okay.
way. This is all in a video game.
This is all in Gmod. Vin Diesel has the gravity gun.
Yeah, he has the physics gun, so he just blue beams it, and that's it. Oh
Uh,
my god.
um. So the villain in this movie is Jason Momoa plays him. Uh, Aquaman. So I was kind of expecting, like, you see Jason Momoa and you see that he's going to be the villain in a Fast and Furious movie. And you kind of imagine, like, what would you imagine, right? He's just going to be like, oh, he's just going to be like a tough guy or something.
Let me actually look up Jason Momoa. It's been
Yeah.
this guy, man.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. I'm trying to think because pretty sure he's a pretty good actor and everything. Like I'm kind of trying to imagine he's like a tough guy or whatever. But
No. Jason Momoa in this film, he plays. Imagine if the Joker used Tumblr.
that sounds really funny.
He's the quirky Joker. like like he's it's the weirdest thing, but like he's having so much fun with it. His character is like, so his whole deal is that movie is kind of a best hits. It's kind of like a best hits of the series. They're just replaying. He is the son of the villain from Fast Five, who in that movie the villain was this like drug kingpin who like controlled Rio basically. And Jason Momoa, they reveal, was his son. And when his dad dies in that movie at the end, he vows revenge on Vin Diesel and the Fast family. But he's like a psychopath. They literally say he when he was like a child, he had like sociopathic tendencies and was in and out of jail for like crazy murder like shit, and he's just a weirdo. um and he doesn't take anything seriously, and he wants Vin Diesel's loved ones to suffer. It's
That's
his
it.
whole deal, which is a replay of Jason Statham's character from Furious 7, where that's also his whole deal. Is Jason Statham was the brother of the villain from 6, and he's like, you put my brother in a hospital, now I'm gonna hurt everyone you love.
Touch your face, mate.
and and that's literally Jason Statham's whole deal, but now he's like a semi ally kind of character. So they're just redoing that. And then so Jason Momoa is like, I'm gonna like set you guys up so that you blow up Rome, and now you're wanted criminals, and I'm gonna turn everyone against you, and I'm gonna split you up, and I'm gonna threaten Vin Diesel's son and stuff like that. Oh, Vin Diesel's son. Okay, so oh my fucking god.
It's like JoJo's.
So Vin Diesel, right? You know what he looks like.
Yeah, I know him mostly as like Riddick. I don't know if you've seen any Riddick movie, but
yeah. So Vin Diesel, he's like the most Italian Catholic guy you could ever get. He is. Oh, I forgot.
I didn't know that.
They're doing. Just look at him. I don't even have to confirm that. I just know. You just look at him. Oh my god, I completely forgot. There's like a bit where he goes into Jason Momoa's like hideout, and Jason Momoa has this like serial killer like room filled with like screens playing a bunch of like pictures he's got of Vin Diesel and the other characters, and one of them is Vin Diesel's wedding photos, and Kat is like, oh my god, because this is from a previous movie. Kat's like, oh my god, I forgot that he got married in a wife beater.
Wow, he did. What
Vin
the fuck?
Diesel's character
Wow.
got married to his girlfriend of like 15 years in the story, and he's wearing a fucking like white wife beater and white jeans. He looks like he's in a boy band, and he's always he's always wearing like this cartoonishly large metal crucifix necklace.
Oh my god!
Like that's the shit that makes this series great. That's what makes it awesome.
It just seems like such a Oh god damn it! I don't know why I think about this, but he just seems like really Italian though. I feel like that's sort of like such a like a Southern California meme to do.
Yeah, because
Like,
he's like an Italian American from I think he's from LA actually. He has that vibe.
yeah.
Um,
And I don't even mean to be like, haha, I'm memeing on you. It's
oh
like
no,
not
well
that.
I'm
It's
I'm
just
NorCal,
like
so you don't have to mind.
yeah, yeah. We're talking shit about
Yeah, fuck
Southern
SoCal.
California.
I don't even feel like a totally different topic. I don't really feel that much kinship to like the Northern California region or whatever, but so you can talk shit. I make fun of Californians in general. I have no loyalties.
Yeah, I gotta be right back for a sec.
All right, cool. I'll continue. Okay, so actually wait, no, I wanted to mention to him the fucking hilarity of Vin Diesel's family. Um what else can I talk about to like put a bookmark in that? Generally like the action in it is pretty solid. Like it's pretty good crazy stupid car action where like it's these movies have become way funnier to me now that I've actually started like learning to drive. Cuz it's like you see the stuff that they do and you're like and before I was like well it didn't seem possible then. But now it's like that's no, like you can't do that in a car. I'm burping a bunch. You can't do that in a car, dude. You can't do that and survive. Every single car in this series is it's like it was built. These are just like consumer cars. It's like they were built to withstand like a hurricane. Every single one, and it's no like they roll over, they tumble 100 times. Um, right. Okay. Jason Momoa's okay. Part of what really sold me on his character was that one of the first things he does is he fucks up Cypher. And if you haven't been keeping up with these movies, the villain of the last two was this god awful character named Cypher. Who's her actress? I always forget her name. Uh what the fuck what's her what's her name? That blonde lady. There's a lot of blonde. Yeah. Oh, she's played by Charlize Theron. Okay, she's played by Charlize Theron, and okay, in very like short terms, I guess that's how you would say that. Um, Cypher is a character who's basically it's like the writers are trying to make her look cool all the time. Like they're really trying to make you believe that she's actually super cool and competent and dangerous. And for my Warhammer people in the audience, Cypher is like Abaddon. Cypher is like Cypher is like Abaddon. It's this character where like they're it's like the writers are like trying to justify them being the big villain and like no actually they're super cool and like when they win it's because they were really smart and they meant for that to happen and it wasn't like forced at all. um uh uh and I hate this character so much. Like I fucking hate Cypher. She's like consistently annoying because she's trying so hard. And I get that like Charlize Theron's probably giving it her best, but like you can't you the dialogue in these movies isn't that great to begin with. But like she is not I don't know, man. Maybe you could have sold it, but it doesn't work. I can't stand this character. And the first thing Jason Momoa does, the first thing is he just fucks up Cypher's whole deal. Cypher gets fucked up twice in this movie. Once by Jason Momoa, and then once by Michelle Rodriguez, which was awesome. That was great. She threw her through like a glass window, and she had zero cuts at all because this has just been like a consistent thing throughout the Fast and Furious series, but glass like doesn't cut people. It's all like sugar glass. With the, oh hi Prox, you're back.
Yeah, it's great.
Glass just does not cut people. So like they both like Charlize Theron and Michelle Rodriguez both go just flying through a glass window and they with wearing just like tank tops, and they have like zero scratches at all. Where like you would be completely lacerated from that. Um, okay, I wanted to tell you about Vin Diesel's family. So in F9, they revealed that Vin Diesel's character Dominic Toretto has a long lost brother. Do you know who his brother is?
God damn it! Is it John Cena?
It's John Cena.
Oh my god!
And
I don't know how I knew that.
and and the writers expect you to look at John Cena and Vin Diesel staring at each other, and they expect you to believe that they are not just like related, that they are blood brothers from the same mother. Like, are you
That's
serious? And
great. I
like,
don't know. Yeah.
yeah, because Vin Diesel, so Dominic Toretto has a sister. She's Mia. She's been a main character since the first movie. They look like they could be related. I forget the actress's name all the time who plays her, but they look like they could be related. But like and there's a Vin Diesel and John Cena. There's a scene. There's a line of dialogue where someone just offhandedly goes like, "Yeah, I guess you had some recessive Nordic genes in your family." I'm like, God, dude, come on. So okay, so that was already goofy enough. So Vin Diesel has a son. He has a little kid. He has a little boy, and that is from so after so in between the second and fourth movies, Vin Diesel's girlfriend Letty died. She actually didn't die. It wasn't a hologram, but it was like something happened. So everyone thought she was dead. She actually had amnesia for like 3 movies. And in the meantime, after Fast Five, Vin Diesel's character hooked up with this Brazilian cop lady, and then they had a kid together. But then, like, it turns out the lady was alive, and then, um, and then
Awkward.
and then in Fate of the Furious, Letty and Vin Diesel's character have been back for like a while, and but they're like, and like the Brazilian cop lady's just been kind of raising the kid, I guess, on her own, but then she gets kidnapped by the villain Cypher, who I just told the chat I fucking hate. And then Cypher kills the Brazilian cop lady, and Vin Diesel just adopts his own son. I guess he starts raising his kid. It's like a literal baby at that point. By this time, the kid is like, he's like 5 or something. He's like, no, he's like 6 or 7 at least. So, oh my god. Okay. So you look at the kid. So the mother character, she's Brazilian, but she's like kind of that like more Latino looking Brazilian, if that makes sense. Like a little more like lighter skin, like caramel kind of complexion kind of deal. And then you look at their kid, and the kid is just a black. Like he's just straight up like, there is no way these two people gave birth to this human being. There's no way. He's straight up just like a black child. and he's supposed to be Vin Diesel's like biological son, and I'm like, dude, what the whole family is so weird, dude. Like they have no regards for like casting to make it believable at all. It's so funny. Uh yeah, that whole deal is really funny. Oh, so Jason Momoa, some of the quirky things he does is he's always kind of dancing around, and he's in these like really like flamboyant. He's the quirky Joker, but he's also kind of like the first gay Joker as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know if he's actually gay, but he's like always kind of he's just kind of like he's kind of like prancing around. He's a very like prancy, frolicky kind of guy. He's in these like silk shirts, and he's like doing his hair and painting his nails, and he's got like these two there's these like two guys that he's kind of like using at the start of the film to help him do hacker man stuff. And then I guess he killed them, but he doesn't just kill them, he also like takes their bodies and like uses like tape to like tape their faces open, so like their eyes are open and their mouths are in like these weird positions, and he's like painting the toenails on the corpses and like talking to them. It's fucking really weird. It's really weird, but he's like he is having so much fun. He keeps calling Dominic Toretto, Vin Diesel's character, he keeps calling him Dommy Boy. No, not even Dom. He just keeps calling him Dommy. He's like, oh, dummy. Like, it's too late. I'm like, this is so
Yeah.
funny.
I just realized on your Fast and Furious podcast, you set the game as the Chronicles of Riddick Escape from Butcher Bay.
Yeah, I did. I
That's
forgot
really
about that.
funny. That game has a lot of classic YouTube poop, like lines
Oh, really?
from it. Yeah, like shit that people use in a lot of other shit that shit that Vin Diesel says basically. It's like really anyway. Yeah,
Yeah.
classic. They
Um,
play that game.
Vin Diesel in this film continues his trademark brand of what I dubbed it micro acting, which is where he's not really like he like makes an he like something happens and he like tries to react. It's like watching like a monkey use sign language kind of thing. and and his face like struggles, like he tries to make an emotion, but like he never quite gets there. And there's so many moments in this film where like something shocking happens, like, oh my god, did that person die? And it cuts to Vin Diesel's face, and I know there's like a delay on the stream, or I don't even know if you're watching the stream, but for everyone watching, he just kind of makes this expression where it just cuts to his face. He goes, that's for people who could tab over for 1 second, and it's the
Yeah.
funniest thing. Like you can make a soy jack out of it so easily. It's hilarious. Um, he continues his like he doesn't really enunciate anything.
I just saw the face.
Yeah, he does that like a couple times throughout the movie when like Rome's about to get nuked. He just like a fish, and um oh so there's this whole fucking plot line where so the kid, the son, um Vin Diesel is like, I gotta go do Fast and Furious stuff, and John Cena, you take care of my kid while I'm gone. So John Cena and Vin Diesel's sister, who is Paul Walker's character's wife, in the series, shows up, and they do this really funny thing where like they pretend like they Paul Walker's character is not dead in the series. He just kind of drives off. He gets sunset. So like every time they do a plot line like this, there's always like, oh, don't worry, I just called Brian. He's all good. His wife, my sister's gonna show up, but like Brian's not gonna. Don't worry, he's a family man now. But she shows up, and John Cena show up, and they're like, it's like auntie and uncle, and they're taking care of little baby. Oh yeah, the kid's name is Brian too, in memory of the not totally not dead Brian character. Um, and then all these do so because they're wanted criminals. They come to like arrest, I guess, the kid. They come to arrest the child and Vin Diesel's sister, and there's this whole fight scene where she's like a tiny woman, and she's like kicking around these like fully armored armed men. like over tables and stuff like that. And then John Cena, because I don't know, um, there's a scene that was in the trailer that we were looking forward to so much, and when it finally happened, we popped off in the theater. John Cena's on the second floor of the home, and he takes a dude and throws him through the floor, which is like,
That's
which
such a
is like
John Cena move.
not the craziest thing at first, but if you think about it, the amount of force you would need to throw somebody through a hardwood floor from like just even like a standing position is unfathomable. Like look at all the things in your room that your floor is holding up. Just like jump and your floor like it doesn't cave in or anything. John Cena
Yeah.
just throws a guy through that. Like it's nothing.
I heard John Cena's character is just John Cena.
He kind of is. And it's funny because I like him significantly more in this movie than in the last one. He also dies in this movie, I think. Like maybe it was also a hologram, but like I don't know. In the last movie, his whole deal was he had a vendetta against his brother because of I don't know some bullshit that like really doesn't matter. And by the end of the movie, it's basically resolved, and he has nothing left to do. So the writers for this one just kind of were like, let's just let's just give him a new personality, and he is just in this film. He is fun uncle. He is fun John Cena uncle who goes on wacky adventures with his nephew, and I like it. He's fun. John Cena is like a pretty charismatic actor. He's pretty good like comic delivery. Uh he's good. I like him way more in this movie. There's this character that I cared literally nothing about that I was not sold on at all, and they made him at least, pretty fun to watch. Uh ooh. Okay. There's a great Okay, so my enjoyment of the Fast and Furious movies, this is like completely all over the place, like this whole segment, but it's kind of because the film is all over the place. My enjoyment of the Fast and Furious films is partially measured by the amount of I call it the oh fuck yeah moments, which is it's the bits it's the moments where I'm like, oh fuck yeah, that's awesome, that's so
Right.
cool. Um, and there's a couple in this film. My favorite one is a thing that was the post credit scene of the last one. So Han, Sung Kang's character, Han, was so when he died, but not really. It was it was by Jason Statham's character. Jason Statham Shaw was going to he was trying to kill all the members of the Fast family, and he started with Han. So they like sort of not really a retcon, but they were like, oh, he's the one who did it. So there's this whole thing of like, Han and Shaw, they haven't met yet, since Han got came back in Fast Nine. But the end of the movie is Shaw, Jason Statham beating up a punching bag in wherever, I guess his like home in London, and he's and he like unzips it, and there's like a guy in there who is like a character in that movie, and then he goes like, oh, shut up, mate, and he zips it back up and just starts beating the fuck out of him again, and then he gets a knock on the door, and he opens it, and it's Han, and you're like, oh, what's gonna happen? So we finally get that scene in this movie, and um it's when they're completely out of money. They're in London. Oh yeah, Pete Davidson shows up for one scene, and he offers Han some LSD laced brownies, and Han has like one bite, and he's like, "That's a little much. I don't think I'm gonna eat any more of that," because he's a snacker, dude. It's so they're like they're in Pete Davidson's like shop, and Han's like, you giving away these muffins, dude? I was like, yes, he would say that. He would be looking for those muffins. So they show up to the door, and basically they're just going to Jason Statham for help. They're just like, "Hey, can you help us out, dude? Like we're totally getting screwed over. We need someone with like connections and stuff and weapons and cars and shit." And Han opens the door and Jason Statham immediately thinks that he's like looking for a fight. And Han he's like, "No, no, like it's cool." And then he goes to his jacket pocket to like take out he's taking out like a bag of chips cuz he'd be snacking. And Jason Statham just kind of like on instinct just does its like judo throw where he like flips him over and like the chips go everywhere and Han gets up and he's like, "Dude, you messed up my snack." And I was like,
Of course.
"Fuck yeah." Fuck yeah. It's like in JoJo when someone insults Josuke's hair. And then he like gets so angry that he like can ignore bullet wounds and shit like that. I was like, "Oh fuck. That's like a fun character little pop." I was like, "Yeah." And he completely loses the fight, but it all works out cuz again, he's not the best fighter, he's just super cool and he likes snacks. Let's see what other fun stuff is in this movie. Uh the it really is like a retread of like a bunch of plot beats. So it's like it's going back to like Fast 5. And there's action set pieces that directly reference ones from Fast 5, specifically the climactic one of that movie, which is where they steal a vault. They steal the entire vault. And they're dragging it around Rio on like a chain with two cars, and they're like swinging it into into like cop cars with like momentum and shit to like to like attack the that's like their means of attack. It's like a big mace they're swinging around on the street. Um, and they directly reference that in this movie where Vin Diesel there's like two helicopters that have shot grappling hooks into his car, and he drives it off of like the like the side of a freeway, like off a bridge, and he makes the helicopters like crash into each other like that, like two little clackers, and then he starts he starts dragging the helicopters behind him on the highway and spinning and throwing them into like the bad guy cars. And it's really funny. It's great. Um it's like this, yeah, the villain is very much just like the Furious 7 villain. Uh a lot of it, yeah, it's just kind of like the better ideas. There's like an actual street racing segment in the movie. It could have been long. I wish it was longer. Uh, but I was like, okay, we're. It feels like we're a little bit back. It feels like we're back where we should have been. Um, I don't. Oh yeah. Vin Diesel's son becomes a murderer. His little like 7-year-old child. He becomes a murderer. You see, John Cena has he's outfitted that when the bad guys find them, he reveals that he's been working on this car where it's like a regular car, except it has two giant rocket launchers attached to it, like twisted metal. And it has like 100 tank shells that are like belt fed that are attached to like the back of the car. Um, and it can shoot forwards or backwards. And they're like being
Right.
chased by these guys, and the son like launches the missiles and just fucking obliterates like multiple people. Like he's a murderer. Like he killed people, and then they're like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, you did it, kid." And it's like, we're not gonna talk about it. Like, is do you think Vin Diesel's character is gonna be at all upset that like his son has like killed people? He's like 7. uh, Yeah, and then the film ends on two back-to-back cliffhangers. Because this is going to be the first in a series of finale movies. It might be two or even three.
God.
And to be honest, I wish it was longer. The movie's already like 2.5 hours. I wish it was longer because I just wanted it to keep going. Um, speaking of oh fuck yeah moments, that cliffhanger is Vin Diesel and his kid. They're escaping, right? And they're driving to like this dam. They're like driving over this dam, um, off of like a service road, and suddenly they get cornered on both sides by these two like 18 wheeler like trucks that are full of gasoline, and they're being remote controlled by Jason Momoa. And it turns out that he was actually being set up by the guy who was like the new version of the Rock's character, um, who was actually a bad guy the whole time, who was in Jason Momoa's pocket. They've all been set up, and Vin Diesel, he's gonna get crushed in like the Mickey's Dick Smasher, but it's like two trucks.
What do you mean by that? What does
Oh,
that
have you never
mean?
seen that?
No.
It's this. It was like a Someone just posted it one day. It's like a drawing of like a concept for a ride at Disneyland called Mickey's Dick Smasher, and it's two roller coasters that face each other, and you stand in the middle with your penis out, and they just collide on your penis in the middle. and
Oh
and
my
and that's
god.
gonna happen to him. And Vin Diesel goes like, "You made one mistake, Jason Momoa. You let me keep my car." I'm like, "Oh fuck yeah! Oh, he's gonna do some shit now." And then he drives off the dam. And rides down it, and both the tankers crash into each other, and there's like a huge, gigantic mega explosion, and Vin Diesel's like driving away down the explosion, like down the dam, and then they both jump out of the car into the water and survive. This is like right after a scene where Jason Momoa had just kidnapped uh, Vin Diesel's black son out of the car, and then Vin Diesel gets him back by driving parallel to Jason Momoa's car, and the kid jumps out of the moving vehicle and into Vin Diesel's car.
His black son.
His black son,
I
yeah.
love that.
Which is vaguely reminiscent of, actually this has happened multiple times. But it reminds me very much of the climactic scene from Fast and Furious 6, where Michelle Rodriguez and I can't even fucking describe it. I would just have to show you the clip. But a very similar thing, except instead of like going from one car to the other, they're both being Michelle Rodriguez is being propelled off of a tank, um over like a super high suspended highway, and Vin Diesel is jumping off of a car on the other side of the highway, and then he catches her in midair. um it's pretty awesome. uh um uh uh yeah, right. And then Gal Gadot is alive at the end of Fast and Furious 6. She no, sorry, that wasn't the climactic Fast and Furious 6 scene with the tank. That was like the regular climax. Then there was a super climax with this plane that was taking off, and then they like there's this crazy scene with a plane, and then Vin Diesel like explodes inside of the plane, and then he drives the car out of the flaming wreckage, and it's awesome. He's like back from hell. Um, but Gal Gadot's character, Giselle, fell off of like a car that was attached via grappling hook to the wing of the plane, and got turned into like paste on the tarmac. And that sucked because she was Han's like love interest, and now Han is sad, and that's why I was upset about it. Well, it turns out that Michelle Rodriguez and Charlize Theron were in like a super secret prison that was in Antarctica, and they escape by doing some like perfect dark Deus Ex climbing through vents shit. And then a big submarine comes out of the ground, and Gal Gadot is in the submarine, and she's back, and she might be a cyborg at this point. Because like I don't know how you survive like hitting the pavement at like 70 miles per hour. That seems
Hologram.
pretty intense. Yeah, and she wasn't even in a car.
Right.
Um yeah, I had a really good time with that movie. Oh, and then the post-credit scene. Okay. So The Rock has been in this series since Fast 5, but he wasn't in the ninth film because I don't think he was, because him and Vin Diesel apparently hate each other. Apparently they just don't like each other, and they don't like working with each other because they're both
Yeah.
gigantic divas. So it was like, oh, The Rock is being like, he's being quietly moved out of the films. He's not going to show up anymore. I heard even that he got killed off screen, and I was like, oh, what the heck? The Rock? He could survive anything. He famously flexed a cast off.
That's
And
it kind of reminds me of in video games when your character is like the biggest badass in the entire world, but then cutscene them becomes like puny and vulnerable and stupid. You know what I mean?
yeah, The Rock is kind of like the game character all the time. Uh,
But he got cutscened. That's what happened.
that's what I thought. But there was no
Yeah.
acknowledgement of it in this film, and then in the post-credits scene, it turns out he shows up
Oh yeah.
in what I'm sure was like a second unit thing that they filmed like months after production because Black Adam didn't do well, and The Rock wanted to sign on again to get some monies.
That's funny as hell.
Um, where it's like, oh, you can, it's them like going to some random like dilapidated mansion or something, and everyone's in like full tactical gear, and you can't see anyone's faces, but there's like a phone that's ringing in like the middle of an auditorium, and the one character picks it up. One of these SWAT guys picks it up and answers the call, and it's Jason Momoa, and he's like, you know, uh Vin Diesel was the one who like stole the vault and like swung it around like a big mace and hit my dad and all that. But like you were the one who like shot him in the fucking head on the highway. So like I'm coming for you too. And then and then and then he takes his mask off, and it's The Rock, and then he crushes the phone in his bare hand. He crushes it in his bare hand, and he goes like, and he I think the line is literally, not if I have anything to say about it, you some bitch. He really goes, you some bitch.
So big.
uh I thought, I thought that like, which is weird because I thought that like after Hobbs and Shaw that he was like retired. He's like a soccer dad in that movie, and I could have sworn that it takes place after, I don't know, at least before this film. So I guess he's back to doing his secret agent shit. But he's back, and I can't wait to see him be ludicrously, superhumanly strong in the future. Uh, I've told you about like some of the shit he does, right? Right?
Yeah. Wait. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I zoned out for a second.
That's fine. I've told you about some of the shit that The Rock does in these movies, right?
Yes.
Yeah, how he like punches a steel wall and like makes a dent in it.
Oh yeah, yeah. He told me it's basically become superheroes, kind
Yeah.
of.
Or there's like a torpedo that's like skating across the surface of ice, and he starts like spinning it around and redirecting it with his hand. Or like he's been in like a full body cast the whole movie in Furious 7, and then he just stands up and he goes like, That's it. And then he flexes his cast off, which is one of the funniest fucking things I've ever seen, because I said right before it, oh, what is he just gonna rip it off? And then he didn't do it. He flexes his arm and it explodes. um, yeah, I can't wait for the next one. I think it's coming out in like 2 years, and I'm gonna take Kat to it. Even she had a good time. Even she had a good time, and she was going for me. She was straight up going for me. She showed me these movies to begin with, and now I'm the one dragging her to them, which is some poetic beauty.
No, yeah, I get that feeling, but when somebody just casually is like, "Oh yeah, you know, like Typo Negative, I like a few of their songs," and I'm like, "Okay, I mean, I'll check them out," and then I like them now like infinitely more than the friend who originally showed them to me. I know, yeah.
Yeah, I think I've known people who I've been on, I think, both sides of that as well.
Yeah. Like, what do you mean a few songs? Have you not listened to their whole fucking discography? And they're like, what?
That was literally me with Modest Mouse.
Yeah.
Like, way back when I was like 11, my mom said that like you would like Modest Mouse, and now I know their entire discography front to back.
Yeah, I don't know who got me on Death Grips. I'm really trying to think really hard.
Yeah,
I mean, part of it is the memes. Like, Death Grips has been memed a lot in the past.
I think you were just curious.
Yeah, like there's this fucking. I think a friend of mine was like, "Hey, check this out, dude!" Like in 2013, and it's Guillotine.
Yeah,
I know it's Guillotine, but Guillotine by Death Grips. It's the video of him like in the staticky car, just like headbanging. It goes, it goes, it goes.
Yeah.
Like everyone,
Yeah,
I think everyone knows about that meme on the internet, but they think like, oh yeah, they're just meme band, but it's like, no, they have some really good music, but it's super weird. Like it's fucking, they're probably one of the weirdest bands I know of that still sound like music, because I know there's bands out there. I'm not saying that as a mean thing, but there are bands out there where their whole gimmick is to make things that are barely music, like barely qualifies. Like it's like banging like a pot with out of like a beat. Like it's not even a beat. Basically, there's no comprehensible beat. It's just like background noise, and it's supposed to be interpreted as music or something. It's.
Have you ever heard of?
I don't know.
Dude, you ever heard of lowercase music?
What?
Lowercase music is like almost like sub-audible sounds. I looked it up one time. It's like there's like this album of it. I think it comes from, I think like the original album or something was called like lowercase music, and it's like the sound of ants walking. Which is like so unbelievably quiet. It's practically inaudible unless you're in like the quietest room ever and you have it on full blast. Or like the sounds of plants, which is like literally the sound of like the internals of a plant as like chloroform is like filtered through its like plant veins. I forget what it's called. Yeah. It's like the most incredibly, and there's people, it's one of those things that like you go to like comment sections on this and it's like, this changed my life. Yeah. And it's like it's someone's thing. Someone is
like I Divine Cybermancy, in my opinion. Like, oh man, great game. Like it's like, in my opinion, that's how most of the comments would probably be on that. Like it'd be like where it's like, dude, this is the best game ever made, and it's like completely just like a backhanded joke.
Damn.
I mean, I'm not saying it's not the worst game, but I'm gonna be right back for a sec. I'm like really hungry, and
that's cool. I'm gonna talk about Guardians of the Galaxy now.
Man, it's been a while since I've seen those first and second movie. I think I like the first one more, but I like the use of popular classic rock and all that. I wish more movies would just have accessible, like just whatever music instead of just all orchestra, cinematic MCU shit all the time. Anyway, be right back.
All right, yeah. So, So Kat and I, we had a thing, yeah, another pause on the Nickelodeon marathon where how did this even start? Well, the recent well the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 came out recently, and she was watching it, and she was telling me about how there's like a lot of like really kind of gruesome scenes in it and like pretty intense stuff. And I had just watched. Oh, you know what it was? I had just watched the Red Letter Media review of it because I was not planning on watching it. Right? I usually avoid um their reviews for movies that I plan on seeing, which means that I watch most of their videos because I don't go to the movies very often unless it's Cat. And usually if I'm going for Cat, it's like I don't really care about knowing about the movie beforehand. Um, so uh, they mentioned just kind of randomly in the video that Adam Warlock is in the film. And I didn't really mention this, but I love Adam Warlock. Adam Warlock's probably one of my favorite comics characters ever. I own like the Jim Starlin Adam Warlock collection. It's somewhere down there or up there. I'm not quite sure.
Yes.
Hey, just telling them how I got on, how we began, how we began this journey. So I found out that Adam Warlock is in the third movie, and I was like, oh shit, that's really cool. Like, I love Adam Warlock. Um, and I was like, what's his deal? Like, does he? So to me, the quintessential Prox. Do you know anything about Adam Warlock?
No, but I know one of my favorite characters, at least name wise, is Richard Rider, which is a real comic book character
Yes, I
name.
told you about. That's the first Nova, Richard Rider, aka Dick Rider.
Right, and like I don't know if you told me about that or
I
if it
no,
was
I
another
did because
friend.
I told you I was playing Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and I was looking up characters like stuff on the MVC 3 wiki, and they have a little lore blurb and they just call him Dick Rider, and I had to do like a triple take.
Yeah, like, damn, I heard another friend. I don't remember. I feel like I heard about that twice for some reason, but yeah,
Well, it's really
go
funny.
on. Yeah, it is.
Right. So Adam Warlock is like was written by Jim Starlin, who I don't know if he created Thanos exactly. No, he did. He created Thanos, wrote the original like Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity War Saga, and Infinity Crusade. He did all the Infinity stuff. One of like the most I want to say underrated, but like he just because he's I feel like a lot of comics writers are sort of obscure in the mainstream, but like Jim Starlin's awesome. I love his stuff. Really like tackled a bunch of crazy like actual philosophical stuff. Like the Adam Warlock stories are about like actual serious philosophy that you can like go learn about in a like a class and read books about. Um, and it's one of the reasons I love the character so much. And to me, the quintessential Adam Warlock image is him sitting on an asteroid in space and moping about like existentialism. So, because that's like how every Adam Warlock story begins, or at some point he does that. He's basically like, what if Jesus didn't have everything figured out and was super self conscious? That's how I would describe Adam Warlock. Um, and I was like, oh, is he like this or this or this? She's like, nah, he's just kind of a guy. It's like, oh, that kind of sucks. It's like one of my favorite characters. um, and she's like, maybe actually. So we started just talking about the movies, and she was like, maybe you would actually like them, because she said that they were some of her favorites, and I remember the Red Letter Media guys have always really liked these movies. They're usually like pretty tepid on Marvel movies for the most part, but they've always kind of liked the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. And I was like, okay, maybe there's like I can see like I know James Gunn did it. I could see them being actually like kind of cool. So we decided that our next thing is we're gonna watch all the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and we started the other night with the first one, and I thought it was pretty okay. I thought it was fine. And weirdly enough, it actually made me appreciate the Suicide Squad a lot more. Rox, did you ever watch the James Gunn Suicide Squad?
So not the one from like 5 years ago,
No,
or what were you?
not the shit. There's the shitty one, which was the first one, and then which is just Suicide Squad, and then there's James Gunn's version a few years later, the Suicide Squad, which is really good.
I probably have seen the shitty one. Yeah.
Yeah, that sucks. So that's unfortunate. I would totally recommend the Suicide Squad. That's like a legit really good movie. I'm also slightly biased towards it because it was actually Kat and I's second date was to go see that movie. Um,
Noise.
yeah, and we had a really good time, and so I'm like slightly biased towards it with like positive memories, but thinking back on it, like trying to remove that and be a little more, I don't know, analytical of it or a little less influenced by it. Like if I were to
Okay.
rewatch it, for instance, I feel like that movie is it's like a much more refined version of the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie in like a lot of ways. It really feels like James Gunn, now having watched Gataga, uh it feels like the Suicide Squad was like James Gunn's second crack at doing a similar kind of story, where it's like a comic book adaptation about this like group of misfits who they have these disagreements, but ultimately they come together to save the day kind of thing. Um uh I feel like the Suicide Squad is this movie, but done in like a much more, like the script is like way more elegant, if that makes sense. Where I checked, and the Suicide Squad is only like 10 minutes longer than Guardians of the Galaxy, but a lot of things, like for the most part, I want to say that Guardians of the Galaxy is like a pretty solid movie, but it has some things that kind of irk me. Namely, I really dislike, how do I describe it? I really dislike kind of ham-fisted exposition. Like when a character just like, I'm going to explain my whole backstory and my motivation and everything
No.
to you right now in dialogue. And I personally find that like very cringy. Like I cringe when I see that. It's one of the reasons that like the Sonic 2 movie was so hard for me to watch, is because it's made for children, and so they just kind of say everything. Um uh it's kind of like, did you ever read Naruto or watch it?
I tried watching it a few times, but I never got past like the first tournament arc. But
Yeah.
yeah, like I don't like. I feel like my least favorite version of that trope of explaining the entire plot is when it's like record scratch. Now I know you're probably wondering how I got here, and then it's like this like goofy, stupid fucking like rewind.
Yeah.
So it all started when I like punched a man in the face, and then it goes
I
from
think it's a
there.
little overplayed is the
I
thing.
committed a war crime, and it's like, oh,
Yeah. Like you're at the Nuremberg trials. Record
Jesus.
scratch. You might be wondering how I got here.
God, yeah. That sounds like a fucking comedy sketch.
Well, okay, you know that scene in Naruto where Kakashi sits down the main characters and he's like, I need you to explain your motivations and backstories to me for the audience now.
He says that like verbatim.
No, that's he doesn't
Uh,
say that, but it's like that's basically what happens. He's like, "Why do you want to become a ninja?" And then everyone just exposits for like the whole chapter.
I want
And
to
I'm
become the
like,
next Hokage.
and then like I need to kill my brother who killed my clan, and that's when I'm reading it and I'm like, "Oh yeah, this is
Yeah.
for children. This
I'm gonna be
is
right back again. Jesus
that's cool."
Christ.
All right. I'm like, "Oh yeah, this is a story for children." The target age range of Shonen Jump is like 8 to 18-year-olds. This is supposed to be understandable by like second graders kind of thing. Um, I don't like it. Exposition. There's a lot of ways you can handle exposition, but Gataga um does it in a way that I find kind of obnoxious. Where I don't know. The biggest problem for me is not the characters in the film. The biggest problem for me is the way that the characters are presented and the way that they develop and the way that their characters develop and their relationships, where it's like, okay, there's like a final form of these guys, right? And their team dynamic by the end of the film. And that's hi Ryan, I'm talking about Guardians of the Galaxy. There's like a final form of that dynamic, right? Um and that is like that is fun when everyone's like a team now. That's pretty fun in the way that they bounce off of each other. But the path of them getting from like everyone, like all these people hate each other and are trying to kill each other, to it, it's like it's been 12 hours. It's been like I don't even know how long. It feels like it's been like 12 hours maybe in the film, and they're just like, you're my family now. I'm like, what? Where did when did we get here? Why are we where did that come from? Everyone just like turns on a dime, and like why? And it's like, why are we suddenly loyal to each other? There's a strange development where like, everyone's trying, the way everyone gets together initially is that Star Lord is trying to sell off the MacGuffin of the film, the stone, or the sphere with the infinity gem inside of it.
The
And
gauntlet.
yeah,
I
well,
don't know. Yeah,
it's just
I'm back.
yeah, just the one rock in this one.
Uh,
He's trying to sell it off, and then Gamora's trying to get it back, and Rocket Raccoon and Groot are trying to get it, and so then they all get arrested together, and then you know none of them have ever met each other before. They were all literally just like tasing and stabbing at each other like 5 minutes ago, and then they get to the prison, and all of a sudden Rocket is like, I'm just going to protect you for like no reason. I'm going to be like your bodyguard and stuff, and there's like this random like kinship compatriot. It's like, what? Did we miss a scene or something like that? Like Rocket, this character who like notably does not trust people and feels like he's been like trod on his entire life and only really likes Groot and stuff. Why? And all of a sudden he's like, I'm gonna look after this guy who really serves, there isn't even like a selfish motivation for him to like, oh, Star Lord's gonna get me anything, or like, it's just kind of okay. um it's just the all of the relationships between the characters feel like very speed run, where it's like, fuck, we have to get to this end point where everyone's a big happy family. And it's like, why is Star Lord and Gamora like falling in love? Like, do they like each other? Did they? Why did they? What do they like about each other? They barely have like a scene of dialogue. Like the scene where the first time they actually like talk together is the same scene where they almost like kiss and shit. And I'm like, what? How did this happen? When did this happen? Did I miss something? Is there like an extended director's cut? And it's weird because I remember, I think back on the Suicide Squad, and that has more characters. It's only 10 minutes longer, but it has more characters, it has more plot lines, there's a lot more going on, but everyone's relationship to each other feels like very fleshed out, and I totally got why everyone felt the way they did about each other, and when people like changed and flipped and all that, or like became friends or became enemies, like everything made sense, and there was like a super great like emotional core to it. Uh, and I don't. There was like time for them to talk and have these little experiences, and you would get bits where they would interact like while doing the plot basically, where it didn't always have to just like sidetrack to have a dialogue scene or something like that. And it was just like it felt like a much more elegant version of how you would do a story like this, where everything kind of, it feels way more organic and not forced. And I guess that was my problem with Guardians of the Galaxy, really, was that like, and I'm complaining about this a lot, but um a lot of things in the film feel kind of forced and speed run in terms of like the characters, and that kind of I just didn't really care much for it. um but I can't say I had a bad time. I actually had a pretty good time, and it's funny. It really does feel like James Gunn is a very competent. I think he wrote it. I think he wrote it. It really does feel like he's a very competent like writer and director, and he knows how to write like fun dialogue and fun character interactions, and direct some pretty fun action, and like the sets and the effects are good. It was decently funny. uh I thought the use of the soundtrack, like you said, Prox, was pretty good. uh
Yeah, I don't know why that's unpopular nowadays. Well, it's probably money, but
I thought it kind of kicked off like a big trend of using licensed music.
oh yeah, I think
It's,
it did. That was like a big thing with Guardians of the Galaxy. I haven't seen it in a long time, but that's one of the most memorable things
yeah.
from it. Oh my God! Speaking of that, I don't know if anybody remembers this movie, which is unfortunate because it was one of the only movies I was looking forward to years ago. But Ready Player One.
Yes, I remember that movie.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be like pretty cool, but it ended up just being like a decent movie, and that's it. Like
I've
I don't know.
heard enough about it. It's funny because people have said to me that I would probably really like it because I like old, I like old video games and stuff like that, and I guess 80s and 90s stuff. I've heard enough about it where I'm like, I don't think I would like this.
There's a chance you would hate it because
I think there's a very good chance.
yeah.
I've heard it's just kind of a bunch of references.
Yeah, there's a lot of nostalgia. It's like nostalgia of the movie almost, and it's kind of weird, like the whole kind of weird. It's like such a roundabout plot to me, if I remember it properly. Not in a good way either. It's like it's such a weird, archaic. Like, so he needs to do this and this and what? Huh? And then there's these guys who are evil, of course, and yeah, it feels like a very typical, like, ironically, I don't think they really learned much from the kind of bad story writing of like sort of like an 80s movie.
Yeah, they emulated it a little too hard.
Yeah, almost like not on purpose. But yeah.
Ryan said Ready Player One is only slightly more bearable than the book because we don't hear the protag's incel thoughts read aloud, which I don't know about the incel thoughts, but I do know about Ernest Cline's poetry. Have
I
you
don't know
ever
who
heard
that
this?
is.
He's the
No.
author.
Oh.
Ernest Cline, the writer of Ready Player One, who looks like a Redditor. And he wrote this poem, which he wrote this poem. I'm gonna read it. Which, mind you, when I read this out loud, I want you to imagine he performed this live at like a slam poetry thing in front of like many people. Okay. It is titled Nerd Porn Auteur.
What?
I've noticed
What?
that. Fuck, I can't even. Okay. I've noticed that there don't seem to be any porno movies that are made for guys like me. All the porn I've come across was targeted at beer-swilling, sports bar-dwelling alpha males. Men who like their women stupid and submissive. Men who can only get it up for monosyllabic, cock-hungry nymphos with gargantuan breasts and a 3-word vocabulary. Adult films are populated by these collagen-injected liposuctioned women, many of whom have resorted to surgery and self-mutilation in an attempt to look the way they have been told to look.
Oh.
These aren't real women, they're objects. And these movies aren't erotic, they're pathetic. These vacuum-headed fuck bunnies don't turn me on, they disgust me. And it's not that I'm against pornography. I'm a guy. I'm a guy, and guys need porn. Fact. Like a preacher needs pain, like a needle needs a vein, guys need porn. We're halfway through. Alright, check
Dude,
porn.
this is like Elliot Rogers' like cousin or something. Holy shit.
But I don't want to watch this misogynistic he-man woman hater porn. I want porno movies that are made with guys like me in mind. Guys who know that the sexiest thing in the world is a woman who is smarter than you are. Dude, it's about to get so much worse. You can have the whole cheerleading squad. I want the girl in the tweed skirt and the horn-rimmed glasses. Betty Finabowski, the valedictorian. Oh yes. First, I want to copy her trig homework. And then I want to make mad, passionate love to her for hours and hours until she reluctantly asks if we can stop because she doesn't want to miss Battlestar Galactica. Summa cum laude, baby. That is what I call erotic. But do you ever see that kind of woman in a contemporary adult film? No. Which is why I'm going to start writing and directing geek porno. I shall be the quintessential nerd porn auteur. And the women in my porno movies will be the kind that drive nerds like me mad with desire. I'm talking about the girls that used to fuck up the grading curve. The girls in the Latin Club and the National Honor Society. Sounds like me. Chicks with weird clothes, braces, 4 eyes, and 4.0 GPAs. Brainy, articulate bookworms with Mensa cards in their purses and chips on their shoulders. My porn starlets will come in all shapes and sizes. My porn starlets will be too busy working on their PhD to go to the gym. That's it.
Yeah, that's some like Joker level shit. That's like really bad.
It's like the most painful thing you could ever read.
Dude, like
this is like this is like CIA torture.
This reminds me of a certain sect of like very small amount of like high school students or whatever. Like I had this like weird kind of thing where I was sort of like a quiet guy, pretty much a nerd and whatever, but I didn't even fit in with the nerds. Like I don't know how to explain it. This is gonna sound like a dickhead thing to say, but like I knew I was like too cool for them. Like there's like no way it would work.
Oh, you had like lame nerds?
Yeah, dude, the nerds that I knew of would say shit like that. They totally would, like 100%. And I was like, no way. Like people would probably interpret me maybe off of like a look or something sometimes, like, especially in high school. I'd look like a kind of like a jock, but I'm not really. Like I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's weird, but like just the don't give a fuck attitude, but at the same time I'm not like in band or chess or whatever the fuck.
Hey, what's wrong with being band?
Band is fine. I feel like though
no, there's a lot of band kids. I know what band kids.
I'm not saying every band kid is crazy, but most crazy kids are in band.
Ryan says, me too, prox. Thankfully, I had more tweeners like me.
Tweeners?
Yeah. Yeah, I was lucky enough to go to school with some pretty cool guys who, like, no one really judged anyone for their interests, so... Yeah, I don't know, I didn't have that problem, thankfully, but, like, going to school with a bunch of earnest clients sounds like fucking miserable.
I had this uncanny ability where I was really good friends with a lot of the popular people, but then another day I'd be called a school shooter.
Same, actually.
It's like a very insane dichotomy. It's like, wow.
The same thing happened to me, and it was just because I dressed weird.
Yeah, like which one am I? Am I, you know? I feel like
Yeah.
this happens even nowadays. It's like, totally different topic. I don't want to talk about it,
Oh
but I
no, that's
mean, it's
fine.
just an example, analogy, TLDR. People, I don't know. People sometimes hear my opinions, and it's like, oh, is he left? Is he right? And it kind of reminds me of the shit with the school thing. It's like, is he fucking school shooty or is he just like, popular dickhead?
Just a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I hate that prox guy.
When you hit the balance, it's like you break everybody's like brain. Sometimes they're just like, what? I don't. What do we call this guy? Oh, it's a centrist.
The social centrist.
Yeah, which I hate the fucking term centrist, and everybody knows at this
Anyway.
point.
Right. Anyway, that's like the worst poem I've ever read.
Yeah,
the
TLDR, yeah, worst poem.
the absolute, like, that guy wrote a best-selling book that got turned into a movie. 2 movies. Can you fucking believe that? Like, it's so, like, I haven't read that in a few years. I forgot how, like, unbelievably sexist it is.
Oh yeah, dude, that
For
is
a
like
guy who's like,
mega
I
insult.
respect women and I want to just be like, oh, you wear makeup, you're not a real woman. What the
Yeah,
fuck?
dude, that's how it always is. It's like these fucking dudes, like,
The male feminist.
yeah, like I respect women, and then actually, it's like, no, you just want to say that to them so you can,
Nah, you just want to get
you know.
you just can't get the hot chicks, so you want to corner the market on the frumpy girls. That's the strategy.
I, man, I can't really stand the whole. Well, I mean, it's kind of funny, right? Like, haha, this breed guy crazy, this breed girl, fucking, crazy as well. Like, oh, it's always the hot ones that are crazy, and I just like sitting there, like, no, no, I don't believe that at
Oh
all
no,
for a
there's
second.
yeah. You ever talk to a band kid? Speaking
Yeah,
of,
you ever
like,
talk to like a female band kid, male band? It doesn't matter. Like what they can be insane. Okay, they you know.
yeah, there were a few cool people in band who I was actually friends with and who were like cool, fun guys, and were not like the band kid type of stereotype. But there were some people, dude. There was this guy in the trumpet section who, like, playing the trumpet was like his personality. It was like his whole
Oh,
life was the fact that he was good at the trumpet, and he was like first chair, which was higher than me in jazz band, even though he was a year younger than me, type of thing. And he was so fucking proud of the fact that he was first chair, and like, you could just tell like he took this way too seriously.
yeah. I hope someone kicked his ass.
No, it wasn't really that type of school.
Oh,
Um,
it probably would have happened at my school.
yeah. To be honest, I think I had a really nice high school experience. Like, there was not a lot of, like, there really wasn't any bullying. I think part of it is that it was an all guys school. I think that helped.
Was it really?
Yeah, I went to an all boys college preparatory.
That is that's interesting.
Yeah. And the funny effect that that has is that once you, like, take, like, I'm sure there's gay guys, right? But once you take, the majority of people are going to be straight. So once you take the all the girls out of the equation, everyone kind of chills out. That's It's really funny, but like everyone just kind of, like, no one's really worried about, unless it's completely like self-inflicted, like, social pressure. No one's really worried about, like, having to fit. Like, I was the weirdest fucking guy, right? I wore, like, trench coats with upside down crosses to school, and I was really into anime and shit, and all this stuff that would, I feel like, is like the stereotypical, like, get you bullied kind of thing. And like no one really cared. And I actually had I had like many friends. I had a lot of friends, and I was generally pretty well liked. And I liked pretty much everyone I went to school with. And we all just were kind of like the I already told you about the time I wore a dress to school.
No.
There's a classic this is a Taigen lore bit. Um uh did you ever watch my Night of the Living Dead MMOs video?
No.
Okay. So I when I was in high school I got really into like gothic Lolita fashion. And when I was like a freshman or sophomore or something, I bought my first like gothic Lolita dress, and I decided that for senior year picture day, well, not picture day, class picture day. So like the group picture for the graduating class that we would all take in the gym. That I'd seen just once from previous um from like previous years. I knew a guy who discussed corpse hentai in the open hallways, and he had a lot of friends.
What the fuck?
That was me, honestly. I could do that.
Wow.
um, so I decided because I'd seen people for previous years that would like wear little costumes or things like that or dress up for it in something funny. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna wear my dress to school. So I didn't wear it specifically to school, but I brought it and then I changed into it between classes. And I was a little nervous about it, but I remember like walking into the gym where everyone was, and because it had taken me a minute to change, I was the last person to get in. So everyone's just kind of waiting and just talking and stuff. And the door was next to the bleachers where the picture was being taken. So like you come out and there's like you got to walk all the way around the bleachers before they can, before you get to the front of them and you can actually sit down. So I opened the door and uh the theater director, that was who it was, the theater director sees me and he liked me. So he was like immediately, I think he was looking out for me, and I think he was like no no you can't wear costumes. I think he was trying to get me like, get me like not in trouble, protect me from getting in trouble. And I was like, nope, the email said you can't bring props, didn't say anything about outfits. um and he was like, I don't. And then I walked out far enough that the guys on like the very far side, like the far left of the bleachers, looked over and they could see me, and they went, "Yo!" And they fucking went crazy. And I just looked at it and I was like, the people want it. The people want what they want. So I walk over and I'm just gonna like sit. I'm just gonna sit like on the side, right? And then the photographer comes up to me and he goes like, "Hey, yeah, I'm gonna need you like right in the middle, actually." I'm gonna need you right in the middle because there's like an open spot in the middle at the very front, like at the very bottom of the bleachers. So I was like walking past, and it was like the wave. It was like the wave where like as more people saw me, the more people just fucking started popping off, and everyone thought it was really cool and awesome. There's videos of this actually, and everyone starts trying to get a picture with me, and it wasn't like mocking at all. Like all the fucking football players were like, "Dude, you're the goat." And I was like, Tigan girl bossed his way into his princess moment. Yeah, I did. I was girl bossing. And uh so like then the funniest thing happened where I just get sat down like right in the front. I'm in the middle. I could still, if I dug out my yearbook, I could still probably find it. Um Two people walk in. It's the vice principal and the dean of men, which is a thing that we had, which was
The
like
Dean of
the
Men.
dean of men, which was his real title. And he was like the disciplinary guy. Um and he side note, but the dean of men he had a little team of like hall monitors basically, and they were the dean team.
Yeah, and they would spank your boys if
No.
they acted up.
No, they were just like, I don't know. I don't even know
Yeah,
what they
call
would
your
do.
parents or something.
Give you like in like detention or whatever. If you had,
Yeah.
if your beard was grown out too much, they'd make you dry shave.
What the fuck?
The Dean of Men is a Dark Souls boss.
Yeah, honestly, it sounds like
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Caligulopoulos, the fallen Dean of Men. um, so he walks in with the vice principal, and the vice principal, everyone hated her because she didn't get it. There's like a vibe when you go to an all boys school where like everyone kind of fucks around and you have to let the guys fuck around enough. And she was just way too much of a hard ass and everyone fucking hated her and found her really annoying.
So it was like a Skylar White moment
Yeah.
from Breaking
Yeah.
Bad.
Yeah, but we don't even get to see her feet. So like um they walk in and I immediately see them start talking. And I'm like, all right. And I'm just mentally getting ready, right? To like try to talk my way out of it. The Dean of Men comes over and he walks up right to me. And then he gets right in front of me. And then he looks to the guy next to me and he goes, "Hey, Jeff, no torn jeans. You're going to have to move back one row." And the guy was just like out of dress code because he was wearing ripped jeans. And he was like, "Damn it." And he just got up and moved back a row so that they wouldn't be visible. And I was like, all right. Then like a minute later, the vice principal walks up. And I'm like, okay. And then she goes, this is not allowed. And I was like, oh, sorry, I didn't what part of it is breaking the dress code? I didn't I'm curious because I double checked the dress code and there was nothing about not wearing dresses. I read through it like 3 times and there was absolutely nothing. So, I knew my rights. And I'm like, what about it specifically is that a dress code, ma'am? And she just kind of like, I don't think she was expecting me to push back on it at all. So she kind of like stutters a bit. Just, you need to be wearing pants. You have to be wearing pants under that or something. And I was like, all right, I got you. So I got up and I walked over to the side of the bleachers where I'd thrown my stuff down. And as soon as I did, I think because everyone saw her come over to me, the, there was like a shift in the energy in the room. And it's like, I don't know if you've ever been in a place where like you suddenly get the feeling that things could get like really bad really fast. Like, this is very like I'm really not exaggerating when I say that I genuinely think if they'd made me like change out of it, there would have been like a riot. Like there was like 400 teenage boys in that room who were fucking like super hopped up on adrenaline. And I don't know if they would have been civil if like if like I had been, yeah, the color palette shifted like JoJo's.
Black and white.
Yeah. Um and then I came back. I came back with I just put my pants on underneath the skirt and everyone was relieved and we took the picture and that's how it is in the yearbook. Um and then it's really funny because afterwards a lot of people wanted pictures with me and stuff, but a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, came up to me and he said, "Hey, Tygan, I want to let you know." This is like a few hours later. He goes, "So right after we took the picture and we all just kind of, went our separate ways afterwards, it was during like an office hours type period." So he's like, "Yeah, so I had to go like straight to the office because I had to talk to my counselor about something. And I overheard the Dean of Men and the VP, and they were talking about you." And I was like, oh, really? What were they saying? And he told me that the VP really didn't like what I'd done, and she wanted to tell me to change. And apparently, what they had been discussing was that the Dean of Men was talking her out of it. He was talking her down from it because there was a similar situation at an all girls Catholic school recently, or that he'd heard about somewhat recently, where a girl had worn like boy clothes, quote unquote, and she had been told to like change out of them, and it caused like a huge problem. And like a bunch of the students like protested, and there was a big like strike and shit. And he was literally telling her, I think that if you did that, there would be a riot.
Right.
And I was like, oh, damn. I have the people power on my side. Um, and a guy came up to me who I worked with on the school paper. We were on the paper together, and he told me that he had had an article lined up that he was going to do for that month. And if they had made me change, he was going to just like snap change the topic of his article to how this was like an unjust thing that was done to me. I was gonna be like a martyr. But hey, it all worked out, and that's probably one of my favorite high school memories. I was
Yes,
really nervous. I was like, I did not know how it was gonna be received. You can adapt your story into a punk rock music video. I Yeah, I really thought, I was like, how well is this gonna go over? But everyone was like fucking going crazy for it. Um, there was like a weird thing in high school where for some reason I had this reputation of being like, um, the cutest guy that everyone wanted to fuck. I don't know why that was like such a thing. I don't know why that was such a thing, but like guys would like slap my ass and shit in like theology class, and I was like, what?
What the
Could,
fuck?
what boundaries, please?
Yeah, that's not cool. What the fuck?
There was one guy who did it specifically. But I don't know. I would like walk past guys. They'd be like, "Yo, every time I see Tigan, my pants get tight." And it was just like this consistent thing. I don't know why. Um, I remember I was on this retreat. It would end in a riot like Teenagers or Desolation Row. I don't know those. I don't know those things, if those are music videos or films. Um, I remember I went on this this like leadership. I was part of this like leadership program at my school, and we had to go. It was like a Big Brother type thing, and we had to go on this thing that was basically just like a 2-day little retreat over the summer, like a little before school started, at this really nice little like location. Um, and during that, we played this pretty fun like little kind of campfire game. The music videos. Okay, we played this fun little campfire game. I forget what it was called, but the premise was basically that there was one person. There was basically a moderator with a coin. And the idea was that you go in a circle and one person whispers a question to the next person, and it's always like a question about like who is, who would, something like that. It's always a question about a person, and then the person they ask, uh their answer to that question has to be, it's like out of the people who are here kind of thing. And then after the question is asked, the person with the coin flips it, and if they get a heads, oh, so the person who gets asked announces what their answer is, but you don't know the question. If the coin is heads, they have to say what the question was. If it's tails, you don't know. It's like a fun little game. So it was pretty fun. It was like, who would you let, pick a tattoo for you? Who would you invite to your wedding kind of thing. And then it gets to one guy. One dude asks him a question. I think, again, like football players. One dude asks him a question, and he just goes, "Tie again." And everyone's like, "Oh!" And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And the guy flips the coin, and it's heads. And we're like, what's the question? What was the question? And he stops for a moment, like he doesn't want to say it. And he goes, cutest guy here. And everyone was like, yeah! Yeah! I don't know why this was such a thing.
Yeah, your high school moments sound infinitely more interesting than mine.
I think it was a combination of going to an all boys school and also the specific school that I went to attracted a lot of characters. Um, it was an interesting high school experience. Yeah, I agree. You agree, Ryan? Yeah, I had an interesting high school experience. I'd actually love one day if I ever got the opportunity to like write a TV show. I'd want to do like a TV show based off of my high school experience about like an all boys Catholic school. Um, because there's like way more stories that I have. I have like a whole folder of stories just of weird shit that happened in high school. Um, from like little weird like little jokes and stuff or conversations I overheard to like these gigantic story arcs that happened. Have I ever told you the story of when I was in a band?
No.
It's a really long
Yeah.
story, so I don't think I could tell it right now because we're running up on like the 3 hour mark. Oh, we're already past it. It's 3 hours and 30 minutes. No, wait,
2 hours, 40
2 hours
minutes.
40 minutes. Yeah, it's like Young
Young
Sheldon or Young
Sheldon.
Rock.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't have a very cool experience. It was just me trying to mind my own business, get the fuck through high school, but then it was like a mixture of these random chicks who'd want to like date or something, and I'd be like, okay, and then go on like a couple dates with them and then get bored and then go home and play video games.
damn right, damn right.
And like also there's a mix of all these people who wanted to know more about me, and I'm just like, fuck off, please. Like, I'm sorry.
Shut up, bitch. Just playing
Like
my
it's
games. I'm playing Quake.
I don't remember what I was big into. I think it was like Rust and Counter-Strike and shit. I wasn't man, I was always somewhere else when I was in school. Like I was just listening to music and like
Yeah.
totally zoned out the whole time. I mean, one cool thing is like it kind of made me. I had this one class that I thought I was gonna hate. It was like British literature or whatever, and it had this like really strict English teacher as like the who like most people hated, but I ended up liking her a lot because like she gave really good feedback, and she I don't know, like those kind of teachers
Yeah.
that have like a bad reputation, but like if you're just cool with them, they're like actually really cool
Oh yeah, I had a couple of
to
those.
talk to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was one of those, and I had a lot of respect for her and stuff, and she had a lot of respect for me. So, but yeah, everyone hated her because their writing sucked, and they didn't. It wasn't even only because their writing sucked, but because they were just really, really, really lazy. Like they didn't.
Yeah.
They wanted to finish papers the morning of, and like I always did it the night before at
Oh yeah.
at like
This
the
is
very
much more
least.
responsible.
Yeah, the night before kind of sucks, right? But I mean, the morning before, that's like you're just
That's
asking to
like
fail.
too close. Yeah, I had to do that a few
Yeah.
times. Like when I forgot about something, it's not fun. Especially when you have to like go print it out. Oh
Yeah,
fuck,
fuck
dude.
that.
Oh my god, the stress. I'm like the fucking
Yeah.
print's out ink.
Right. Oh yeah, there
Oh,
was a video game tournament that was done only once, and then it would never happen again. It was so
oh.
funny.
What was the game?
Uh, so there was a few games. It was Black Ops 2, which I was like the pretty much the best at, but I lost because of some bullshit with like inconsistent setups of the games, like having non-vibrating controllers sometimes, vibrating controllers sometimes, like no sound. It was really fucked up, but yeah, I ended up getting like top 3 or some shit. There was Smash 4 because that was like the newest one. There was Street Fighter. I don't know which one, but
Probably
I know
5,
people.
if it was when we were in high school.
Yeah, I that was the least popular one. I think those were the games. I played the fucking Smash 4 one, and I got destroyed by this like Sonic main, and I was like, okay, cool. I was trying to have fun. I think I played Pikachu or something.
What was the prize?
I don't know. I don't remember. Probably like nothing. I don't know. So you're cool, I guess. Are you too busy hanging out with your girlfriend? Yeah, I
Oh
should have
wow.
been more explorative in high school because, yeah, it just gets more difficult after you're out of high school to get relationship shit. But,
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't really have time for relationship right now.
There were two times that I tried to have a girlfriend in high school, and neither of them worked out at all. Like
Yeah.
didn't get off the ground in the slightest. Dude, I was, oh my God. Yeah, that was the bad part of high school is I was like horribly, horribly lonely and like repressed. And I just felt terrible a lot of the time.
Uh, that was me after high school when I was going into college. I kind of had the realization that was like, dude, I had all these like opportunities in high school with these people, and like I just kind of like said fuck that and
Yeah.
played video games, and now I regret playing all those video games. Don't really regret it now. I'm good now. It's just like I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah, I get that.
All right. Well, we've been going for quite a while. Um,
Yeah, I'm debating whether I'm gonna stream later or not because like I'm really tired.
Wait.
Goddamn.
I tried to get my high school Smash Club to play fighting games, and the club leader hit me with the "There's no Game and Watch in Guilty Gear."
Wow.
Damn. Who would be the Game and Watch equivalent in Guilty Gear? I don't think there is one. I don't think there's any character at all like that. Faust. Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, I don't know. My throat's tired. I kind of want to call it a day. It was fun to do it live to at least talk to peoples. Not the most
Yes.
active. Eddie's the Game and Watch. Oh yeah, he kind of is. Um, yeah, thank you so much for joining me. Parox.
Yeah, it was it's fun. Being live is pretty fun, yeah, having the audience and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um yeah, happy 100 subscribers and happy 100th episode of the Cellarcast.
Yeah, synced up.
Thank y'all for joining us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Uh, anything else? I'm back working again. I finished the script for the video last night. I think it's going to be a pretty quick turnaround time. So, look forward to that, I guess. Thank you everyone who stopped by or was in chat or is watching this afterwards. It's been a good
Yes.
time. I don't have to edit this, which is part of the fun.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think I really have anything else to talk about. So, the Patreon and the whatever, and we're gonna go to the standby screen. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Goodbye.